Mr. President, the time is now 9:01 a.m. and you can call the meeting to order.
Thank you very much. Good morning. It's colleagues, staff, members of the public. It is 9 a.m. on May 6, 2025, and we are calling this regular meeting of the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors to order. Let's start with having the clerk of the board provide information on how the public can participate in this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the public, live interpretation of this entire meeting will be provided in Spanish. To access live interpretation services in Zoom via laptop or computer, please click the interpretation globe icon and select the Spanish language. If you're using smartphone or tablet, please locate the three-dot menu, select interpretation, and then select the Spanish language, and finally click done. At this time, I would like my colleague, Paulina, to provide these instructions in Spanish.
Supervisors, President, I'm Paulina, Spanish interpreter with Bilingua. Estimados miembros del público, se brindará interpretación en español en vivo durante toda esta reunión. Para acceder a los servicios de interpretación en vivo en Zoom, si se conecta a través de una computadora, haga clic en el icono de interpretación, que es un globo terráqueo, y seleccione el idioma español. Si se está conectando a través de un teléfono inteligente o una tableta, ubique el menú de los 3 puntos, luego busque interpretación, seleccione el idioma español y finalmente presione finalizar. Gracias.
Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you for those instructions. Now we have the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Sure. Supervisor Spear? Here. Thank you. Supervisor Corzo?
Present.
Supervisor Mueller?
Here.
Thank you. Supervisor Gaucher?
Here.
And President Canova?
Here.
Thank you all present.
We'll now move to honoring the life of and board member remarks. Do any supervisors have comments or things to share for honoring the life of?
President Cantor.
Mr. Mueller.
Today we remember Camincha Benvenuto. She was appointed as Poet Laureate by the City of Pacifica in 2017 and began her 4-year term at the age of 83. Originally hailing from Miraflores, Lima, Peru, she was a single mother, grandmother, multi-genre artist, and advocate for the arts and for immigrants' rights. She kept close to her roots and believed that it's much easier to get where you want to go when you are proud of where you come from. She was also self-taught in the visual arts, exhibiting her works around the Bay Area. She was an author of 3 poetry chapbooks and the bilingual novel As Time Goes By. She will be dearly missed by the community, and we thought the best way to remember her would be a reading of one of her poems. And Supervisor Corzo has been very kind enough to agree to read it.
Thank you. Poem on Belonging, written by Camincha Buenvenuto. Young girl in San Francisco. ¿Qué pasa? These days, a lot, man, and it's heavy. You can visit an art show, a park, a restaurant in the Mission, and feel is a plot to transport you to Latin America. And you come out wondering, why didn't I make this trip before? With your pride surging, knowing what you want most is to tell the world that you are a Latina.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Vice President Corso.
Thank you. I'm going to, it's not going to be Spanglish, but I'm going to be translating in real time here a little bit. I'd like to honor the life of Raimundo Coronado. Me gustaría honrar la vida de Raimundo Coronado, affectionately known as Mundo, a resident of the city of San Mateo, cariñosamente conocido como Mundo, residente de la ciudad de San Mateo. Husband of Patty and proud father of Ryan, Raymond, Angela, and Ilse. Esposo de Patty y orgulloso padre de Ryan, Raimundo, Angela, y Elise. Early in life, Raymond found his voice through the trumpet, and his teacher named him principal trumpet at Bayside. It was more than an instrument. It was how he expressed his truth, his emotions, and shared his heart. Como joven, Raimundo encontró su voz a través de la trompeta y su profesor en Bayside lo nombró trompeta principal. Era más que un instrumento, era la forma en que expresaba su verdad, sus emociones y compartía su corazón. As a mariachi player and lead for Mariachi Mexicanismo for 30 years, his music brought joy and connection to everyone around him. He changed the lives of many inspiring musicians, youth, men, and women alike, who found encouragement, mentorship, and community through him. Raymond era un apasionado partidario de muchos eventos del condado. Contribuyó a los eventos navideños de... Oh, I think I'm reading the wrong one. Como mariachi y líder del mariachi mexicanismo durante 30 años, su trabajo, alegría y conexión a todos los que lo rodeaban. Cambió la vida de muchos músicos inspiradores, jóvenes, hombres y mujeres por igual, que encontraron aliento, tutoría y comunidad a través de él. Raymond was a passionate supporter of many county events. He contributed to the North Fair Oaks holiday events in both December 2023 and December 2024, as well as the Redwood City Mexican Independence celebrations over multiple years, among many other events. Raimundo era un apasionado partidario de muchos eventos del condado. Contribuyó a los eventos navideños de North Fair Oaks, tanto en diciembre de 2023 y diciembre de 2024, así como a las celebraciones de la independencia mexicana de Redwood City durante varios años, entre muchos eventos más. His funeral was a powerful reflection of his impact. Over 100 mariachi musicians came together to play in his honor, a tribute that was both deeply moving and a testament to the lasting legacy he leaves behind. His trumpet may now be silent, but the melody of his life continues. Su funeral fue un poderoso reflejo de su impacto. Más de 100 músicos de mariachi se reunieron para tocar en su honor, un homenaje que fue a la vez profundamente conmovedor y un testimonio del legado duradero que deja atrás de sí. Aunque su trompeta ya no suene, la melodía de su vida continúa. Thank you. Gracias.
Great. Are there any additional comments from board members? Seeing none, with that, we'll move to public comments. This is the portion of the agenda that is set aside for members of the public to comment on matters that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors, but that are not on the agenda for today's meeting, for matters that are listed on the consent agenda, and for matters that are set for closed session. Public comment will be limited to 1 minute today. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the instructions. I do have several comments from chambers, and then we'll take public comment from Zoom. I'll start with Dan Stegging. He has a general comment and also a comment on consent item number 12.
Thank you, Supervisors. I urge you to pull consent item number 12 off the agenda and give it scrupulous attention. I've never seen an agenda where a single supervisor and county executive are sponsoring every single item in presentation awards. You might lose fact to the comment that this is a board of 5 who works together. This has happened before. Probably only President Canpa and former Congressman Speer will remember, but in 2018, during the charter review, there was an investigation into Mark Church. If I take the word memoranda and substitute a J, majoranda, it's a scathing report on Mark Church that he vigorously denies, calls it non-factual, been changed in content and tone, and there's over 7 items that he's scathing in. Take a look at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stegnick.
Thank you. Next speaker is Deacon Lauren McCombs, followed by Nancy Goodman.
I wish I were taller, but I'm not. So, good morning to all who are present. My name is Deacon Lauren Patton McCombs, and I'm currently serving at Christ Episcopal Church in Portola Valley and Woodside. I'm a member of Fixin' San Mateo and Peninsula Solidarity Cohort. I'm speaking to you today as an ordained minister who believes that pastoral care should be available to all. However, for incarcerated persons in our county jails, pastoral care is being denied through limited access to religious services and materials, which is a direct violation of the U.S. Constitution and their right to religious freedom. It's also a violation of the Sheriff's Corrections Procedures Manual Policy Number 1018.12 that details religious programs and practices. Many cannot obtain Bibles or other written material. This is horrible, to think that people cannot receive Bibles or cannot receive these prayer cards. I'm almost done. Chaplains having access to religious materials could give them a glimmer of hope for their future when they are feeling so isolated from the rest of the world and their community and family. Thank you again for addressing this very important issue.
Thank you, Ms. McCombs.
Thank you. Next is Nancy Goodman, followed by Benevolent California 24/7.
Hi, thank you all. I'm Nancy Goodman. I live in Redwood City, and I'm part of Fix in San Mateo County. We have our monthly all-hands Zoom tonight, and I brought flyers for all of you. The topic is reviewing deaths in the county jails, and all of the community is invited. The speaker is Allison Ganter. She was appointed by the governor as Director of In-Custody Death Review last October, a new position created by Senate Bill 519. The legislature created this office to address the growing problem of deaths in the jail. We have that problem here too. And I know that the correctional officers and employees that are being honored today have difficulty because we have so many people with mental health issues, behavioral health problems, substance abuse issues in the jail, and that underlies a lot of the deaths. It's a systemic problem that we need to look at, and the state recognizes that too. And I do thank the correctional officers because I know they try hard to prevent this. Allison Ganter will be reviewing investigations that are made locally of all deaths in the jail after July 2024. Her reports will be public. The sheriff is always required by law to respond in public as well. So hopefully some of you or county staff will be able to make it. Thank you much.
Thank you, Ms. Goodman.
Thank you. Next speaker is Benevolent California 24/7.
Diamond Girl, you sure do shine. The little engine, Stills and Croft, I had to put that out there so the people wouldn't get crazy. The little engine that could, Gina Pappin told me, a smart person gets out of the way of a locomotion. The very next day, I read your name etched on the Caltrain. And then I had the pleasure of meeting you with GP at the CZI, Sustainable San Mateo County. And ever since, you have continued to sparkle and to enhance this incredible board. I'm honored to thank you for your life of service and to name you the Diamond Girl 2025. It's fortuitous that the county party is the day after. My first Diamond Girl was Maureen O'Hara in 1995, and I have a list of names from then on. Most were wonderful women playing roles or entertaining. You have truly lived a life of service worthy of Platinum Lady status, with the likes of Eleanor Roosevelt, Frances Perkins, Sandra Day O'Connor, Shirley Chisholm, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Hillary Rodham Clinton, Jackie Spires, undaunted.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Igor Lakan, speaking on consent item number 35.
Right. Good morning, President Canepa, board members, Mr. Kalagi, friendly staff. I am Igor Lachan, your county director for the University of California Cooperative Extension. One of our contract amendments is on the consent, and I'm here to thank you for your support. With your support, we were able to reach 9,300 youth and 4,100 adults just in the last 6 months of last year. And with our environmental education programs, volunteer programs, and federally funded nutrition education programs. And this is the cooperative part of Cooperative Extension. We are funded by the federal, state, and local sources. And as you might imagine right at this minute, those local sources are more important than ever. I want to extend an invitation to all of you to visit our office at UC Elkis Ranch and see what we do and the impact we make. So thank you again for your support. I'm happy to answer any questions now or in the future.
Thank you. Our last speaker from Chambers is Robert Bloom.
Good morning, everybody. New resident of San Mateo, moved here from Washington, D.C. Thank you for your time. I wanted to bring to attention of everyone the concept that throughout the county, a lot of property rentals are adding and amending rental agreements to try to increase the cost of living by an unreasonable standard by adding on weird and malicious charges such as parking. And so what they'll do, including to me, is they will try to renegotiate your lease when you renew and add on $100, $200 a month charges for parking spots that were previously included in leases. And sorry, I'm a little nervous, my first time speaking. And I think that the county should take action at least to study and try to rectify the manner and include laws and decrease loopholes to prevent property charges from being increased on the residents of the county. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please proceed with the Zoom comments.
Thank you. Just a reminder, today's consent agenda begins at item 12 through the end of the closed session item at number 47. We have 5 speakers, starting with Martin Fox, followed by Rhonda Reyna. Martin, please unmute and begin.
Good morning, President Canepa and my fellow veteran and County Attorney, Mr. Niblin, Supervisor Spear, Supervisor Corzo, Supervisor Mueller, Supervisor Gauthier, and County Executive Mr. Gallagher. Thank you for your service to the county. Please make the county safer and healthier for persons living with serious mental illness and their families by supporting a vigorous implementation of the Governor's Care Court program with the board's immediate implementation of Senate Bill 43. Make the reintroduction and passage of the repeal of the Lanham-Peters Short Act a top county legislative priority, and the defunding of Disability Rights California and the Law Foundation of Silicon Valley, who defend the immoral Lanham-Peters Short Act, top county federal legislative priority. California's residents need a Dorothea Dix-inspired compassionate mental health treatment system, and the Lanham-Peters Short Act is one of the 10 worst involuntary mental health treatment laws in the 50 states. Thank you.
Through the clerk, can we make the last call for speakers?
Sure. At this time, we're making a final call to raise your hand in Zoom for this general public comment period, please. Go ahead and raise your hand and we'll announce that final name that we'll take. Final call has been made, and the last 4 hands that are raised are as follows: Rhonda Reyna, Nayang, Susie Kim, Carlisle Young, and AB. Rhonda Reyna, please unmute and begin.
Good morning. I am making a request to move consent agenda 21 to the regular agenda. Last time we were here, I handed you a packet about my daughter's unlawful kidnapping. I had to celebrate my birthday last weekend without her. And this weekend is Mother's Day, and I haven't seen her, and none of the 3 mothers sitting up there have made any attempt to explain how my daughter is going to be reunited with me. And there's a big difference between men and women in this county, and the men have each other's back, as we saw with Steve Wagstaff covering for Carlos Bolanos and Greg Monks, who were caught in a brothel with rape slaves. And yet the 3 women who I have implored assistance from have completely ignored me, and Noelia Corzo has gone as far as to verbally assault me at the Domestic Violence Council meetings, and now she wants to shut them down and silence my redress of grievances. I don't know what's going on with this county, but I don't know how the 3 women can sit up there and listen to me and not do anything to help a fellow mother get her stolen child back. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. Nayang, Susie Kim, followed by Carlisle Young. Nayang, please unmute and begin.
My name is Nayang Susie Kim. I live in Moss Beach with 2 young daughters, 3 years old and 6 years old. I'm here because our neighborhood is facing an urgent health crisis. For more than 7 days, our sewer main and the lateral have been leaking. We have been warned that the water main is at imminent risk of rupture. Families are living alongside raw, exposed sewage. And instead of leadership, we've had delays, deflection, but mostly silence. We're grateful for those who have listened, Supervisor Mueller especially, but now we need action. Montero Water and Sanitary District has failed us. As our pipes break, They are telling residents we're on our own. They claim that once infrastructure fails, it's no longer their responsibility, that broken sewer mains aren't their responsibility. Apparently, you're a ratepayer when you're profitable. After that, good luck. This is not a political issue. This is not a legal technicality. This is basic sanitation. Basic sanitation, something every family deserves. Our children should not have to walk past untreated, raw, dangerous sewage on their way to school. This is why we're turning to you. The county has the resources, the coordination, and the reach to help. We're not asking for miracles, just interim relief and technical guidance and a plan for long-term safety and equity. Please step in, help us protect essential infrastructure. Don't let families become casualties of bureaucratic confusion. We want to work with you. We want to solve this the right way, but we can't do this alone. And thank you for listening. And I look forward to living in a world where I can walk my children to school without walking past a raw sewage. Thank you.
Thank you, Nayan. Carlisle Young, followed by our last speaker, AB. Carlisle, please unmute and begin.
Thank you. Carlisle Young, Moss Beach resident. I'm actually calling in today about what the Coastsiders euphemistically refer to as the wet spot on Highway 92 East, just after the hairpin curve, but below last year's sinkhole repair. As the county has more clout than the residents, I'm begging you to take action and apply pressure. Last Monday, I was driving to jury duty in Redwood City, and my car hit the little skid spot. It's a wet patch in the shade most of the day, but now the Caltrans is claiming it's just an underground spring, but it's dry, and it isn't. There's been 2 next door posts about it, and I saw a car last Sunday when I was coming back from over the hill. It was a yellow car that had obviously been to Dream Machines, and it also smashed into the center K-rail divider. It's a very unsafe condition, and I'm sorry to say this, but Caltrans is failing us. So if there's anybody in the whole world that can put a little more pressure on, because we put in Caltrans service request tickets and they say they've closed them because they're aware of the issue. But they take forever to get any work done. And meanwhile, there's been about 7 accidents that I can count on seeing on next door. And my friend Jeff rolled his pickup truck there in the first week of April. So please do something. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlisle. Our last speaker, AB, please unmute and begin.
Hi there, I'm Andrew Boston. You can call me AB. I live on LeGrand Avenue in Seal Cove, and I want to echo what my wife Nayang just shared. I'm not an expert in government by any means. I'm just a resident and a parent, but I know a public health hazard when I see one. And for over a week, the sewage has been leaking in our neighborhood, and the Montara Water and Sanitary Department isn't really communicating, and it isn't following standard procedures, and appears to be walking away from its responsibilities right in the middle of a declared geotechnical emergency. So I'm asking you as a county to step in however you can. I know there's some regulatory stuff that you can't touch, but maybe it's through LAFCO or public health oversight or direct coordination, whatever it is. We just need your help. Our families, especially our kids, should not have to live like this. So I appreciate your time, and I really appreciate Supervisor Mueller for meeting with me out on the coast yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. No further comments, Mr. President.
Great. Thank you very much. I want to thank all of you for sharing your comments. We'll now take action to set the agenda and to approve the consent agenda. Supervisor Gaucher.
If through the chair, I'd like to make a request to move item 11 up in the before the presentations. Want to be mindful that the taxpayers are covering the sheriff's attorneys, and so let's move that up before the presentations in this morning's agenda, if that is okay with the rest of the board.
Great. Besides that, are there any other items that need to be pulled? Seeing none, is that a motion, Supervisor Gaucher?
That is a motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Great. Roll call, please.
Sure. Supervisor Spear?
Aye.
Thank you. Supervisor Corzo?
No.
Thank you. Supervisor Mueller?
Yes.
Thank you. Supervisor Gaucher?
Yes.
Thank you. And President Canepa?
Yes.
Motion passes with Supervisor Corzo casting your name vote.
Great. Let me just say, for those of you who are waiting for presentations, we're going to take item 11 first, and then we'll move into presentation and then to the agenda. And so that brings us to item 11, to adopt a resolution approving procedures for conducting a removal proceeding pursuant to section 412.5 of the San Mateo County Charter. Mr. Niblin.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. President, and also good morning to members of the board. I appreciate the opportunity to present, for your consideration, the proposed procedures for a removal process for the Office of Sheriff, and this is, being brought to you pursuant to Section 412.5 of the San Mateo County Charter as it's been amended pursuant to recent action by the electorate. I think it's important to note that the county's work here is, frankly, the first time that procedures have ever been brought to a board for consideration, to my knowledge. There have been a couple of counties, as has been discussed in prior meetings, that have adopted charter provisions similar to the charter provisions of the county here has adopted. But to my knowledge, we've not seen in other counties a situation where procedures themselves have been brought and for your consideration. And that's what we're here to do today, is to look at procedures that would govern a process, assuming that process was ever initiated. So, as you know, so this, in my sense of things, this is somewhat historically significant, what you're being asked to look at. We brought an earlier version of these procedures to you as an informational item, as you'll recall, back on April 8th of 2025. And since that time, as we undertook to do, and we told you we would undertake to do, we've done outreach, including a meeting with counsel for the sheriff. And we've made some refinements, I guess I'd say. Some of them substantive, most of them process procedural. And, including, for example, as has been noted in the memorandum that accompanied this item for you, changing the pre-removal conference officer to the chief probation officer and providing for an alternate pre-removal conference officer or officers, allowing for optional pre-hearing and post-hearing legal briefing, and providing the hearing officer with authority to issue protective orders as may be necessary to protect the privacy of anybody participating in the hearings that might take place. And again, most of these were clarifying changes relating to how the discovery process would work, aside from the substantive things I noted. At a high level, these procedures were framed to address, the assertion from the sheriff that this process ought to be governed by the Police Officer Bill of Rights. Sometimes we call that POBAR. Some people call it POBRA. Various acronyms we've heard. So again, this process it is comprehensive, as you know, a lot of steps to it. But again, it was drafted with an eye toward the assertion that POBAR governs these procedures. Whether or not we agree with that, again, we were working very hard to track POBAR principles. As was the case in the last hearing that we had, Alfonso Estrada, or the last meeting we had at which this matter was discussed, Alfonso Estrada with the Hanson Bridget Law Firm, he's worked with the county to help develop these procedures, and he's available at this time to share some additional remarks. And I'm going to ask him to go ahead and add to anything that he believes is appropriate at this point.
Okay, John, thank you very much, and thank you to the board and for everyone for having me again. We've put in a lot of work into these removal procedures to make sure that they are compliant and that they are consistent with the principles of due process that are typically afforded these types of disciplinary or removal proceedings. The way that we've structured them permits various levels of independent analysis and review, which again is consistent with the principles of due process and what is typically required in these types of proceedings. The only changes we've really made since the last time we spoke were the three that John just outlined. And the discovery procedures that are called for in these proceedings are also very comprehensive. And again, everything that was done to create these procedures was done with an eye towards fundamental fairness to both the county and also to the sheriff in the event that the removal procedures are initiated. With that said, I'm glad to answer any questions that folks might have. Last we spoke, folks had some questions then that we answered, and I'm more than happy to provide any insight if anybody has any additional questions.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any questions from board members?
Mr. President, I'd like for you to just run through exactly what will happen over the course of the process that we're putting in place.
I think I'll ask Mr. Estrada to go ahead and run us through that. You know, from the point of initiation, assuming there were an initiation, to to the very end.
Yes. First, I'll start off by stating the board has not been presented with anything at this juncture, just to make that crystal clear. You are a clean slate as far as it relates to the analysis that these procedures have in mind. What will occur first is that a notice of intent to remove will be presented to the board for consideration, and upon their consideration and review, at that point, the removal procedures would go into effect and be initiated. At that point, it would require a 4/5 vote of the board to initiate removal based upon the notice of intent to remove and any and everything submitted with that notice of intent. Thereafter, that notice of intent would be served on the sheriff, and the sheriff thereafter would have an opportunity within 5 days to appear for a pre-removal conference. That pre-removal conference will occur with the county probation officer presiding over it. The sheriff will be permitted to present with her representatives and to offer any information in mitigation of the charges as outlined in the notice of intent, and also the bases for the removal. Thereafter, the probation officer will issue a recommendation back to the board, who will then consider that recommendation, and again, based upon that independent review by the probation officer, be able to assess that recommendation and make essentially another vote, and 4/5 is still required at that point. If the board does vote by 4/5, then the final notice of removal will be issued, which will trigger the remainder of the procedures, which will include the selection of a hearing officer, some limited discovery, which is clearly outlined in the procedures, and then the matter will be set for hearing to occur thereafter. The hope is to have it done within a 60-day period, including the close of discovery. Each side, the sheriff and the county, will get 5 days to present their case. We amended the procedures from the last time we spoke to permit pre-removal hearing written submission before the hearing, and then again after the hearing by both parties. At the conclusion of the removal hearing process, it will be submitted to the independent hearing officer, and again, this is another level of independent review of the grounds for removal, and then the hearing officer thereafter will issue their advisory opinion, a fully written opinion, to the board for consideration one last time, and then they will make essentially the final decision concerning removal after they get that advisory decision from the independent hearing officer. So again here, several independent checks, affording due process both to the sheriff and also to the county to make sure that there is fundamental fairness in these proceedings, and also in the ultimate decision that is rendered by the board after the various levels of review and appeal. So I hope that sufficiently answers your question, Supervisor, but please let me know if I missed anything.
Thank you, Mr. Estrada. Could you spell out more specifically what the notice of intent to remove will contain?
Absolutely. And the subject matter of it is based upon the Charter Section 412.5, which was enacted by the voters in about a month and a half ago. And there are specific causes for removal, and the notice of intent will entail, whether or not there was cause as defined under the ordinance or 412.5, and then all of the grounds and bases upon which those findings are made, including any documentation, which could also be detailed inside of the notice of intent, explaining how those provisions of the ordinance were violated and why removal is ultimately necessary because of those violations.
And in that act, when the board considers that information, they will be acting in a quasi-judicial function. Is that correct?
They will be acting as the appointing authority. Okay, so because of the power that's been given to the board via the enactment of Section 412.5, they will be acting as the decision makers based upon the authority that's been given to the board by the will of the voters.
So is that a yes or no?
Judicial at that point, I would say no. It's an administrative decision you'll be making, subject to review and the appeal procedures that are outlined in the removal procedures we've created.
All right, thank you.
Are there any additional questions? Joan, I have a couple questions for you. Sorry, Supervisor Corzo, go ahead.
Thank you. Just a quick one. I just want to name that I think folks have had, when the measure passed, I think some folks thought that it was done. And it's taken us some time to get here. Can you just talk a little bit about why it's taken some time and how that's been important in this process?
Thank you, Supervisor. I can appreciate the point you're making for sure. To answer your question, the charter language that was adopted by the electorate calls for the provision to the sheriff, if in fact a removal process is going to be initiated, it again requires that the sheriff be served with a written statement of alleged grounds for removal, and and it also calls for the sheriff having a reasonable opportunity to be heard regarding any explanation or defense. So that's kind of baked into the DNA of the charter amendment. Is this opportunity this notion of the fair opportunity to know what the bases are and what the grounds are that would constitute again a reason for removal. And then again, the opportunity to be heard. The charter amendment also provides that the Board of Supervisors has the power to develop procedures by which a removal process would take place. And again, one of the things we've been wrestling with is kind of trying to hit the appropriate spot as we kind of weigh, the need for the desire for things to move in an expeditious way with ensuring that we afford an appropriate level of fairness and transparency and process in all of it. So that's, I think, that's what we've been wrestling with and trying again to find the sweet spot for all of this. And I recognize that that may not be completely, we won't address everybody's concerns, but that is why it's taken the time it has, is because we want to make sure that we put in front of you and put in front of all interested parties, including the sheriff, a fair process.
Thank you. And then can our expert on Zoom explain the removal procedures in terms of whether they will whether they call for a public or private hearing and how that decision will be made?
Thank you, Supervisor. I will go ahead and ask Mr. Estrada to talk about that.
Certainly. The answer, first of all, is yes. There is provisions in the procedures that call for the hearing to be the removal hearing to be a public hearing by default. However, the sheriff, within 5 days of receipt of the notice of intent to remove, has the ability and option to request that it be a closed hearing. And that is just by operation of case law and certain statutes governing the confidentiality of peace officer personnel records. Again, the way that it's been structured is it is for the removal hearing to be an open hearing, open to the public. However, in the interest, again, in complying with due process, the procedures also include that provision, which do permit the sheriff, if she so chooses, to have it be a closed hearing.
Thank you.
Supervisor, I'm sorry, there was one other thing I neglected to say, actually, in response to your prior question. That was sort of the passage of time. And, the other thing that I think is important to note is that while the election on the charter amendment took place in March, there is actually a period of time that's required to certify election results. And it wasn't actually until mid-April that the charter amendment came into effect. So I think I probably should have noted that as well. That time we've certainly been using, but there was a certain amount of time, again, that was required for the certification of the election results.
Okay, last one.
No, take your time.
The procedures call for any testifying to be done under oath, correct?
The testimony that takes place before the hearing officer will be done under oath. That's correct. I'll ask Mr. Estrada just to confirm that I have that right.
Yes, that's correct. Should in the event that there is a notice of intent to remove, it goes to the pre-removal conference, there's a recommendation made, and the board makes the final decision at that juncture for removal. The sheriff then can appeal to removal hearing, and that removal hearing will occur before the independent hearing officer, as I described previously. And any and all testimony that is taken in that proceeding will be taken under oath or affirmation. That is 100% a requirement.
May I correct one thing? Counsel, you said the final removal, it's actually a removal pending appeal, correct?
Correct, but as the procedures, you are correct. There is a final decision that's made after the pre-removal conference, but that decision at that point by the board by 4/5 vote is subject to appeal by the sheriff to the removal hearing. So you are correct.
Right, and to the supervisor's point, that's exactly how the matter is framed in the procedures themselves.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, I'll just close out by saying that I just want the public to understand that these removal procedures, if adopted, any testimony will be under oath, and if it's not public, it's not for the lack of will of this board. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Corzo. Supervisor Gaucher.
Yeah, John, can you just remind the public what actually the public voted on earlier? Because when you're when you see residents and constituents, they're still unclear of what that vote actually meant.
Yes, Supervisor, thank you. Yeah, the vote itself was to approve, again, a charter amendment, section 412.5, which vests the Board of Supervisors with the authority to initiate a removal process and to actually move forward with removal if certain things are shown. The vote itself was not to remove the sheriff. I think maybe that was, maybe that's a piece of what, we're struggling with. The vote was to vest the Board of Supervisors with the authority to remove, subject to certain things being shown, proper cause, subject to the sheriff having the right to receive written notice of what that cause is and the opportunity to be heard with respect to all of it. So that's what was voted on, was to vest the Board of Supervisors with authority to take the action. It wasn't the ultimate action itself.
Thank you. And my last question is, I hear a lot of procedures. There's a lot that's going on. High level, what are we thinking about, or what are we looking at potentially on timing?
Thank you, Supervisor. Again, I'll ask Mr. Estrada to sort of work with me on the math. Assuming at the point at which there is an initiation of proceedings, if in fact proceedings are initiated, I think it's fair to say that the procedures as drafted now would contemplate something on the order of 4 to 5 months. But again, I'm going to ask Mr. Estrada to verify or validate or say something different if in fact I've got the numbers off a little bit.
That is about right. I would say it's closer to if the procedures are followed to a T. We are looking about a 4-month period, maybe a little bit under that, for the board to receive the advisory opinion from the hearing officer, evaluate it, and to render their final vote at that juncture, which would be the final step in the removal procedures process.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, I understand that the sheriff's legal representatives were asked to provide feedback, and I want to know, and I want the public to know, did they provide that feedback by the deadline?
I think I've described the sort of the way that matters went down in the memorandum that accompanied this item. We as we told the board we would did outreach to the attorneys representing the sheriff, and we actually had a meeting on April 16th. At the time, I think it's fair to say that aside from a matter that I think we already had under advisement, we hadn't heard anything additional. And we did share that because of the agenda timelines we're on, we needed feedback by early in the week of, I want to say April 21st. And we did not, in fact, receive it on the timeline that we had asked. But we did, in fact, receive some feedback, and we included that feedback in the board packet. And we frankly didn't think there was anything additional in there that warranted further adjustment to the procedures. But again, you've received the feedback that we received.
Thank you. So it was not received in a timely manner. Is that right?
It certainly wasn't received on the timeline that we requested. I think that's what I'd say.
Thank you. And in terms of who has been identified as a potential candidate to be the hearing officer, can you talk a little bit about that?
The candidates for the role of hearing officer, I think I'd want to defer to Mr. Estrada on that. I believe that there are, ultimately what we're looking for are people who are skilled, knowledgeable about the peace officer, disciplinary process. It seemed that was a natural, given the context and given sort of the framework that we've put together. I don't know that we've settled finally on anybody in particular. Obviously, in fact, the procedures provide for an opportunity for choosing among a range of people. But again, the general criteria are folks who are deeply experienced in sort of law enforcement disciplinary matters. But aside from that, I guess I defer to Mr. Estrada.
So the criteria really that we looked at in considering who would serve as hearing officers are the foremost experts in public safety officer discipline in the state of California. Very experienced individuals who are well-versed in the issues that arise in this area of the law. And those are the folks, essentially, who we only considered to serve as hearing officers over a potential removal hearing. So a significant expertise in that area.
Thank you.
Great.
Mr. President?
Before we do that, Supervisor Spear, Supervisor Bueller, do you have any questions? Okay. Supervisor Spear, go ahead.
Mr. Estrada, does that mean that I was under the impression that we were going to be looking at retired judges?
No. The folks who are to potentially serve as hearing officers are arbitrators with decades of experience handling public safety disciplinary matters. Their backgrounds are specifically targeted, or we targeted individuals with that significant expertise in doing these matters. So no, it's not retired judges. These are extensively trained and experienced arbitrators who know POVAR, public safety discipline, back and front.
So are they lawyers?
No, they may have been at some point, but the vast majority of them are just practicing arbitrators / hearing officers who preside over these roles for decades. They have a ton of experience in this specific area. You'd probably be hard pressed to find judges with that level of experience specific to POVAR and public safety discipline.
And this is we are not taking action today to determine that, or is that incorporated in these procedures that we are taking action on today?
No, these procedures are just the rules, right, Supervisor? Just for how this is going to proceed from beginning to end. The hearing officer list will be ultimately finalized closer in time to when that selection would take place. And another prophylactic measure there, Supervisor Spear, just so you know, is that the parties get to meet and confer and strike from the list that we provide them to get to one, or they can come to mutual agreement as to who they will have preside over it. So again, there, another added layer of protection for both of the parties.
So the sheriff would be in a decision-making role as to who would preside over this final hearing with sworn testimony.
I wouldn't say a decision-making role, but she's part of the decision-making process in that she'll, get to rank which of them she prefers, and then they meet and strike, and then ultimately one hearing officer comes out of that.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any additional questions? John, I have several. What's before us today is the board adopted the revised removal procedures as the procedures for conducting a removal proceeding of an elected sheriff pursuant to Section 412.5 of the San Mateo County Charter. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. President, it is.
Great. And when we talk about revisions, you outlined them. Can you speak to Chief Probation Officer Keene's background, as well as the direction the board had provided to you relative to, the Chief Probation Officer? And then what I'd like you to do is then go to the county coroner. Sure. And then if you can run us through that. Yeah.
And actually, maybe I'll start with the second thing first, and that was, at the time that we were last here, one of the concerns was, as you know, when we brought you the draft procedures in their original state, or at least the original state, you all saw them in a public setting. It was, we had the the assistant county executive as the in that role, and a concern was expressed that the idea is to create as much independence and as much from outside looking in, fairness as possible to the process. And it was expressed that it would make sense to have somebody who didn't report directly to the county executive. And it was also, frankly, expressed that it would be probably optimal to have somebody who maybe wasn't even appointed by the board in the first instance. And Chief Keene fit that bill well. Chief Keene is actually appointed by and serves at the pleasure of the courts, which are separate and distinct governance-wise.
John, that's an important distinction.
Yes.
I think, one of my concerns, and I think my colleagues shared the concerns, was this issue that it was coming out of the county executive's office. And I think, to me, in moving forward, the independence of who over these proceedings is extraordinarily important. And so I want the public to know that as chair of this board, I think the board as well, take this very, very seriously. And so if you can continue, Mr. Niblin.
Thank you. Well, we heard your point on that, Mr. President. Again, we, and I think it was actually discussed at the time of the last meeting that Chief Keene might be an appropriate person for us to reach out to. And Chief Keene has expressed a willingness to be involved in the process in the way that it's being proposed. And also, along those lines, recognizing that we need to plan for contingencies, Chief Keene, for whatever reason, if he was rendered unavailable, what would we do? We wouldn't want the process to stop. And it seemed to us that the next, appropriate thing for us to do in terms of making sure that we have somebody who is available to serve in that role if Chief Keene weren't able to, was to look at elected officials who have a somewhat different relationship to the county executive, and frankly, a slightly different relationship to the board, recognizing the board's got oversight responsibility with respect to the entirety of the county. There are, with respect to elected officials, there's a different dynamic. And so we had identified
If I could interrupt you, I'm sorry.
Yes.
So the county coroner, that's an elected position,
It
correct?
is. Under San Mateo County's charter, the county coroner is an elected position. Yeah. And one of the thoughts that, I was having was that, the coroner also does have a familiarity with the law enforcement context. And it struck us as, me in thinking about it with the team, that the coroner would be an appropriate backup to Chief Keene. I wanted to maybe perhaps get to your first question. That is, Chief Keen actually is, to my knowledge, I've had an opportunity to meet him a number of times over the course of my work here. He's actually a lawyer, has been to law school. I don't know if he's currently a practicing lawyer, but he's got legal education. He has served as a peace officer. I believe he served as a patrolman back in I think it was Louisiana. I might be wrong about that. But a long history of law enforcement experience here in California as well. So certainly well versed in the context that is relevant here. So I guess that's how I would respond to your questions.
Great. And so my understanding is, just by the way of background, and Chief Keen served as the deputy probation officer in Alameda County. My understanding, and maybe it's Louisiana, I thought he was a police officer in Oakland. I think maybe it is Louisiana. And then how long has he served in the position with the county? I saw online maybe 2013. Does that sound?
I was going to say
correct?
over a decade. So 2013 strikes me as the right year, likely, but well over a decade.
Great. And then can you speak a little bit to Robert Folkraut, the coroner, and his background, just so the public knows?
And again, Mr. Folkraut has served as the county coroner for many, many years, probably over a decade, probably longer than Chief Keen has been in his position. The nature of the position is one where it involves a lot of interaction with law enforcement. And I think even before becoming the elected coroner, I believe that Mr. Folkraut served in the coroner's office. Some of the details of that are fuzzy to me, but again, I know he's got long experience in this area. And again, I think that the context is related enough that it provides a good background for the responsibility he would be asked to discharge under the procedures if it came to that.
In my understanding, like Chief Keen, he served I believe he served with the San Bruno Police Department in some capacity.
Yeah, I believe that's true. I believe
Great.
that's
Yeah,
true.
and I do think there was a paradigm shift, right? The paradigm shift was the person that was suggested that it was going to come from the county executive's office, and then what we've been able to do is to identify two candidates that, to be quite frank, are independent, right? So one is appointed by the judiciary, and the second is directly elected coroner. Both of them have law enforcement experience previous to their roles here with the county. Is that correct?
Yes, it is, Mr. President. And I would say I appreciate your kind of validation that we responded effectively to the concerns that the board raised when we were last here. I think that this is it's a good change. Frankly, it's one that the Sheriff's Council raised as well. So I believe this is an appropriate thing for us to have done. And I think for all the reasons you've already touched on, I think these are appropriate folks to discharge this responsibility if in fact they're called upon to do so.
Great. And then in regards to the initiation process, and I just want to continually reinforce this, that is not happening today. We are looking at sort of the protocols, the procedures, and the revisions that were made. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. President. The initiation through the approval of a notice of intent would be for another day. That is not something that's happening today. Today, the board is being asked to approve the procedures as we've amended them to address concerns since the last time you had a chance to look at them in a meeting.
Great. And let me just say this. I know to the general public, there are some out there who really want to move fast on this. And make no mistake about it, I'm not interested in how fast we're moving. I'm interested in affording the sheriff due process, being thoughtful, being deliberative. And finally, let me just say this. What we're doing today is the first time that this has ever been done in the United States and the state of California. And I don't think it's lost upon my colleagues or myself how important this is. And so what I would say in terms of, we're giving timelines and doing those sort of things, to be quite frank with you, I'm not interested in timelines. I'm interested in making sure that we have a fair, impartial, just process. And as chair of this board, make no mistake about it, I'm committed to doing that, and I think this board is as well. Are there any additional comments? Seeing none.
Mr. President, are we going to hear from the sheriff or from her attorneys today?
What I'd like to do first is I'd like to hear public comment first. Once I hear public comment first, then Supervisor Spear, I'm the chair, respectfully. So what I'd like to do is to hear from the public first, and then if the sheriff would like to speak, she will have the opportunity to do so. So out of respect for the public, I'd like to hear public comment right now here in the chamber, and then thereafter, what we'll do is we'll hear it online. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. The comments are for item number 11. If you wish to speak, the speaker slips are outside of chambers, so please fill the green speaker slip and give that to me. I have so far 6 speakers from chambers, and then we'll hear speakers from Zoom. I'll start with Dan Stegging, followed by Matthew Fronfeld.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Dan Stegging. In 2018, I ran against former Sheriff Horsley for this very board here. I've written more Democratic state resolutions on criminal justice reform than anyone else in San Mateo County, Santa Clara County, and San Francisco County combined as a previous state Dem delegate. With all due respect to the board, John Keene is not a licensed attorney in the state of California, and being Louisiana police have some of the highest rates of malfeasance in the United States. Also, County Coroner, Will, a nice guy, has no graduate degree, has no undergraduate degree, and I believe is not a high school graduate. Alfonso is, I believe, from the court documents, is the 3rd law firm that the county has been represented since November. I urge you strongly to take a look at the Strunsky report by retired Judge Strunsky, which is completely indicting of the Cordell report. And in the last 2 seconds, I'll say it focuses, the Strunsky report says that report focuses solely on a single witness testimony that has not been collaborated by another investigator, recorded, and is anonymous. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stegnick.
Our next speaker is Matthew Frenfeld, followed by Thomas Mizuko. And please adhere to that 1 minute. Thank you.
Good morning, members of the Board of Supervisors. I'm one of Sheriff Christina Corpus's attorneys, so thank you for this opportunity. And you're right, Supervisor Canepa, due process does not require speed. With reference to our recommendations and our notes regarding the proposed rules from
Could you speak into the mic, please?
The third, or there's 4 firms that have been involved in representing the county. This is complex. County Council, now there's 3 additional firms. And we submitted, there is no legal authority for the county to determine that we should have something by the 21st. You have it in your packet. You should have read it. You got it, received it on April 29th with our objections and suggestions. Now, you cannot vote today on this if you have not read that, because that's part of what's attached to your document for the Board of Supervisors today. So what did we recommend? Well, we recommended, for example, there was a letter from the Kecker firm, your 3rd law firm involved, saying that the hearing should be open the 1st level. Well, thank you, Mr. Estrada clarified that that's not the county's prerogative. That is the prerogative of the sheriff under her POBAR rights, the government code, and the California Penal Code. Secondly, there's a mention about timing, 5 days here, 5 days there. That's arbitrary. We're representing the sheriff who ran for this office and overwhelmingly won this office due to the other sheriffs. Then I hear from the people here saying, well, Measure A passed and it was, 80% of the vote. I got to tell you, you're delusional. 20% of the registered voters participated in that. An uncontested ballot measure, single measure on the ballot. So I wouldn't take that to the bank. Secondly, with reference to all this was done because you were misled. You were sold a bill of goods by the Cordell report. I do suggest you read the Judge Strunsky report. Her report is fatally flawed, lacks zero evidentiary value. Our other concern, and it's been expressed, and thank you, there's concern about bias. And there's concern openly here about the county administrator or his subordinates be involved in any of this process. You recognize that. Well, he's not alone. Not alone. You look at what we recommended. Measure A in your disciplinary process has been defeated by the own words of members of this board. The bias. Now, Mr. Estrada hit the nail on the head when he was asked by Supervisor Spire, are we acting in a quasi-judicial capacity? He was 100% wrong that you weren't. You are. That question was asked, or that was answered because a judge has already questioned that in some of our pleadings with one of your first firms about the bias of the board and how can you get to 4/5 vote when members of this board have openly said the sheriff should be removed. You can't do it. That's bias. In fact, I just saw Saturday in the paper, Mr. Simon, who everybody seems to be a gossip columnist here, Mark Simon, he said that all but one member of the board have already said that the sheriff has to go. You are recused. You can't make this vote. By operation of law, you cannot. And we will bring that to the courts. Secondly, about who could be the hearing officer. We recommend it's not somebody from the San Mateo County family. Yes, you tried to stretch the independence of who these other people are. The medical examiner, the chief probation officer. Supervisor Spire is right. It has to be a retired judge. We suggest a retired judge who has familiarity with the law, POBAR, and there are people, judges who are police officers who know POBAR well that are retired at JAMS and at ADR. I think that's the correct route to go if we get there. But the truth of the matter is this board is an echo chamber. You cannot be the prosecutor, you cannot be the judge, and you cannot be the executioner. You lost that right in your statements to the press. And with reference to this being a quasi-judicial capacity, I will submit to you for 12 plus years I served as a San Francisco Police Commissioner on the Police Commission doing disciplinary proceedings, whether or not we were going to discipline an officer or fire an officer, and the courts have clearly held we were in a quasi-judicial capacity. The court earlier ruled that you were not in a quasi-judicial capacity when you set this as a legislative measure to the voters. But once you start getting into the facts, you're acting in a quasi-judicial capacity, and you'll see the case law says you're clearly
Mr. Mizuko,
forbidden from doing that.
I'm going to allow you to continue to 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Let me just ask you this: is the sheriff? You're representing her, or is she willing to speak today?
I'm representing her today, yes.
Okay, and the sheriff is not going to speak. You're her counsel, correct?
I am her counsel, yes, along with two other counsel that are present today. We brought two counsel with us because we thought we were going to be restricted to the 1 minute.
Okay. Do you? What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you to about the 6 minute mark.
Okay.
And that'll wrap up your comments. Okay. So go ahead.
So thank you. So again, we don't think you even get there. You can't get to where you want to go to even have these votes come from these hearings before this board. You can't. Secondly, if you do, the rules should give us the time that we need, the evidence that we need, because the sheriff's entitled to due process. And we're also concerned there's issues of everything that the sheriff does is considered retaliation. And running a sheriff's department, a sheriff's office, you have disciplinary matters. They come to you all the time. We'll have an expert from a police department saying it happens all the time. Deputies get in trouble. If the sheriff moves to protect the public from bad deputies, that's not retaliation. Also, we have to address the issue of, we'd like to talk about some of these retaliation claims, but those deputies have POBAR rights too. And they're going to have to waive them. And I'm sure some of them do not want public what they did wrong that they can openly say is retaliation. Sheriff's more than willing to talk about that. But our concern is bias and prejudice. And it starts at the very top with whoever. This county will not tell us who requested the Cordell report, the context of the Cordell report. We are now suing the county on behalf of the sheriff to find out what that's all about. And I really think you have to look at the Judge Strunsky report. That Cordell report is terrible. There's no recorded statements. There's no names of witnesses. There's no notice of what bias. Who brought them on board? Who brought her on board? Who asked her to do this? Who did that? Was there an intent? Why was this end around on the voters by doing a ballot measure?
If we can wrap up.
A ballot measure only on the election? The single thing, a measure to remove her? There's confusion. I just saw it here now. Like, was it to remove her? Was it a recall? Nobody really knows what's going on. It's complex. You've had several law firms involved, but I'll tell you, justice and due process should not be rushed, and we're not, and this board cannot make that decision.
Thank you very much. You know, to the general public, I typically, you know, as you know, we have a minute. Sometimes it goes to 2 minutes. But I do think in this particular case, I think we allowed you to speak, Mr. Mizuko, through the clerk. Was it 6 minutes?
That's correct.
Through 6 minutes. And I think the reason I did that, and you're right, Supervisor Corzo, as the chair I did that, is I think it's important to hear in light of, you know, the sheriff. And so I want the public to know as we move forward, you know, our main goal is to be fair, to be transparent, and follow due process. So I appreciate you making those comments. We do have a couple questions. Supervisor Spear.
Thank you, Mr. President. You questioned the amount of time you would have in order to prepare for the hearing that would take place by the hearing officer. How much time are you requesting?
Supervisor Spear, we don't even know what the allegations are. So how can we prepare? We have no idea what the allegations are. There was the Cordell report that had a lot of allegations, which the time has lapsed on. There's a lot of issues with those allegations. And now there's a new independent investigation being conducted at the county's behest, where they're actually, as we speak, interviewing other witnesses. We do not know what the charges are. So I can't tell you how long it would take to prepare.
And do you object to having, who would you prefer to have as a POBAR hearing officer?
A retired judge, and not somebody from the county family.
And who would you prefer to be the hearing officer for the more expansive hearing that would take place if the sheriff would appeal the decision?
Also, either a retired judge or an attorney who is familiar with POBAR proceedings.
I'm sorry, I just want to jump in and, like, this is public comment, so we're not really supposed to be having back and forth dialogues. And I just want to state that for the record.
Colleagues, I really want to be respectful of this process. I think Supervisor Spear is entitled, as many of us on the board, to ask questions. And so we're going to continue. A few other board members want questions or have comments at this time. It's the best time to answer. Supervisor Spear.
Well, I think for the record, this is a very important process. The representatives of the sheriff should be allowed to participate in that process and indicate their interest in how it's going to move forward. It probably shouldn't be under public comment. It should have been part of their presentation, but that's where we are. And I think you've been given, I think, ample time to make your comments. Is that correct?
Yes, Supervisor Spear. Thank you so much for that, and thank you, Supervisor Canepa.
Thank you very
Greatly
much.
appreciate it.
Okay, so I think you're done.
Okay, thank you.
Respectfully. Okay.
Not the first time I've been told that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
With that, we'll move to public comment.
And
We're in public comment, but next speaker, please.
Matthew Frenfeld? And Mr. President, 1 minute. Is that correct?
Matthew, we're gonna give you 30 seconds. You're with the council. You're with council, correct?
I am. Thank
Okay,
you. Yeah,
thank
that's
you.
okay. Tip is more eloquent than I am.
Thank you.
Good morning, supervisors. I'll be very quick here. There's serious legal issues with the proposed removal proceedings. I think, Mr. President, you nailed it. We all want to get this right. It's important to get this right. because if we go through this process and it doesn't follow the requirements of due process and the law, it's going to extend longer. It's going to be extended out through litigation and cost more for the county. There are issues with finding a neutral finder of fact here. The board has made public statements that shows they have prejudged this issue, and it needs to be recused. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mariah Cooks, followed by James Brown.
Good morning. Mariah Cooks, I'm also acting as counsel for the sheriff.
30
today.
seconds, please.
Thank you. What I'm really here to stress today and what I've heard from the supervisors is the importance of this being fair. Yes, thank you. Of being fair, impartial, and to really satisfy the elements of this being due process. The process that has been outlined today is outlined as being linear, but really it's circular. As the board, you're acting as the accuser and the adjudicator. You're making the decision, and all the way up through appeal, where you're rubber stamping the accusation, the decision that was made. Having an independent investigator or reviewer.
You can wrap up.
Yes, thank you. I was a DA at the start of my career. Probation submitted reports to the judge. There was often times that report was not followed by the judge.
Thank you, Mariah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Next speaker, please.
Thank you. Next speaker is James Brown.
Mr. Brown, are you public or are you the counsel with the
I'm a
sheriff?
member of the public who's also firsthand witness to some of the information in the Cordell report.
Okay.
All right. So good morning, supervisors. My name is James Brown. I'm a resident and business owner in San Mateo County. I'm a disabled Marine Corps veteran, and I manage two nonprofits, one of which operates here in the county. I know Sheriff Corpus as well as the captains who oppose her. I've been a contractor for the Sheriff's Office under the last 4 Sheriff's administrations. However, I now have serious concerns, and I have 2 direct questions. Why have I, a member of the public, received media inquiries suggesting that I or my firm are mentioned in the 29 missing pages of the Cordell report? And number 2, why have I received media inquiries about emails that were sent by County Executive Mike Callaghy to the FBI that reference me or my firm when I am not the subject of any investigation at any level? Both matters relate to the lease and the services for the 690 Broadway facility, of which I do have direct firsthand knowledge. Yet I was never contacted by Judge Cordell or anyone else. Had I been, I would have testified that I am the person who introduced Mr. Anye to Mr. McSweeney. Mr. McSweeney, who is mentioned 18 times in the report, was also never contacted. I know because I sent him a copy of the report when it came out. His response to me in writing, which I'm happy to share with you at any time, is that report is a joke. I do not know Victor, and we are not Coldwell Banker. I am willing to testify under oath at any time, including right here, right now, about how and when that introduction occurred. So I ask you directly, do you want the real story from someone with firsthand knowledge, or are you content with the conjecture in the Cordell report? At the time of the introduction, Mr. McSweeney was accompanying a county employee with whom he had worked with on the lease. Members of the Sheriff's Office and the Sheriff's Activities League Board were invited to tour the site. Aside from the county employee, I was the only person there who knew Mr. McSweeney beforehand.
You can wrap up.
CBRE had been my landlord for over 20 years and a client for the last 15. Thank you for your time. The last thing I'll just add on my way out is that the hearing officers that you suggested, all of them rely on you for their budget. All of them rely on you for your budget. That's hardly independent.
Thank you very much.
If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Great. Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Last speaker from Chambers is Jim Lawrence. And then we'll take speakers from Zoom.
Good morning, supervisors. For the record, my name is Jim Lawrence. On behalf of Fixing San Mateo County and the many residents who've reached out regarding this growing regard of public safety, we respectfully urge you to adopt a resolution initiating procedures to remove Sheriff Corpus from office. This is not a position we take lightly, but when public safety is compromised, when trust is eroded, and when leadership fails to uphold the standards of our community, those expectations, and we deserve that, there must be changes made. The Sheriff's Office plays a critical role, leadership role, in ensuring justice, safety, and accountability throughout the county. Today, a void exists. Therefore, we're calling upon you to move as swiftly as possible, but decisively, and make this happen. I'd like to add that I live in Foster City. We had an incident where we lost one of our officers to suicide. I'm concerned about the officers in the sheriff's office also. There's a state of turmoil there that we need to deal with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please proceed with Zoom comments.
Thank you. At this time, we have five hands raised. Rhonda Reyna, followed by Paul Ryan. Rhonda, please unmute and begin.
I heard Mr. Estrada describing unconstitutional ADR procedures. Administrative contracts require consent by all parties. They are not judicial and violate Article 3 of the Constitution. The sheriff does not have to consent to this. She should learn her rights and study the unconstitutional Judicial Improvement Act of 1990, which was quietly implemented to a dupe public in an act of treason. This board is trying to run the family court playbook on the sheriff that so many of us have already suffered under. You are discussing the same unconstitutional private judging used in family court fraud without due process. I urge her not to consent to her own abuse or give up her guaranteed rights. The remedy is a recall. It would take less time and cost less money to the public, but you are trying to set an unconstitutional precedent. As one of the people of California, I object and do not consent to these violations of constitutional safeguards and this attempted act of treason by the board that will affect all of California and beyond. I urge you to strike and do not accept this resolution. You can run a recall. The public can run a recall if they wish.
May I have a last call for,
Thank you, Rhonda.
may I have a last call for speakers?
Sure, Mr. President. At this time, members of the public on Zoom, please raise your hand to speak for this item number 11, and I will announce the final name that we will take for public comment. Final call has been made, and the last 5 speakers are as follows. Okay, we now have 6 speakers. The last 6 are as follows. Paul Ryan, Michael Kelly, iPhone, Giselle Smeal, Thelma Uribe, and Mike Phillips is the last speaker. Paul Ryan, please unmute and begin.
Thank you. Yes. First off, express appreciation for naming the importance of due process in this whole proceeding. I think a lot of my concerns were answered, but I just wanted to double confirm that nothing in the Cordell report is eligible for grounds for removal retroactively. So my understanding as a member of the public, after hearing from everybody, is that the charges or the allegations, rather, that were raised in the Cordell report are ineligible for removal for the sheriff, and that you have to find new egregious behavior to start these proceedings. The other thing that, just in response to another comment that was made publicly when it comes to public safety, I'm also very concerned about that, and forcing the sheriff to have to deal with all of this on top of keeping the public safe is also a risk to public safety. She should be able to do her job. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Michael Kelly, please unmute and begin.
Good morning, supervisors. This is Michael Kelly. I'm a San Mateo business owner and community activist. I implore the 3 honorable supervisors that I've heard speak, President Canepa, Supervisor Spear, and I hope I'm getting right, Supervisor Gautier, to follow the money, because that's always where this comes from. When Sheriff Corpus turned off the spigot from the unions getting double overtime pay, from the privileges that were abused when we needed extra support in the jails, and sworn officers took advantage of that, made a lot of money. She turned that spigot off and the union came after her. So millions of extra dollars run up. Supervisor Corzo is taking funding from the union. Supervisor Mueller is, I believe, putting a bid in to become DA, and they're relying on money from the unions. Follow the money. Sheriff Corpus has filled the massive gap of new hires. She's got all these sworn officers. My son's best friend just became a sworn officer. She's doing her job. Let her please vote against it. 2 of the 3 of you need to stand against the dishonest supervisors on this board. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. iPhone, please unmute and begin.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Good morning. My name is Joaquin Jimenez. I'm the former mayor for the city of Half Moon Bay, a community activist for many years. And I am seriously concerned and I'm actually embarrassed. Uh, this has been a biased process from day one. You know, unfortunately, a lot of the or elected officials jumped on the bandwagon to a report that has no grounds for anything. It is embarrassing, you know, that you did this as friendship, you know, to support Supervisor Mueller and Supervisor Corso. I don't know what kind of politics you play. I don't know if you believe in democracy, but this is not it. No, you're embarrassing San Mateo County. You're embarrassing us who still believe in democracy. You know, you said about precedent, you know, Chair Canepa said, you know, this is the first time happening in the United States. And you have to think about that. You know, putting San Mateo County on the map because of this process, it is embarrassing. Thank you.
Thank you, Joaquin. Giselle Smil, followed by Thelma Uribe. Giselle, please unmute and begin.
The law is not ambiguous. Quasi-judicial is a smokescreen. It's a legal fiction. If it's not a judicial act under Article 3 or a state's judicial branch, then it's not a court, period. Call it quasi doesn't give it power. It's exposed fraud. It's a clear violation of due process of law.
Thank you. Is that the end of your comment?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thelma Uribe, please unmute and begin. Thelma, you are unmuted, please. We don't hear
Hello.
you.
Can you hear me?
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes,
Can you hear me? Are you hearing me?
yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, we
Thank
can
you
hear
very much. First I want to thank Canepa for offering fairness. This Board of Supervisors is biased. It has been, especially with Corso and Mueller. From the beginning, Corso came out there like a bull and was just telling the sheriff, talking about her so bad. She's not given, the Cordell report was extremely flawed and calculated to a bit of piece, riddled with tons of misinformation and hearsay, especially employee number 3. She was a disgruntled, or she is a disgruntled employee. When she did not get the promotion she wanted, she thought she deserved, she turned on her. And there is somebody that put it out there publicly that he will talk under oath to report that. Now, the judge strongly, which reveals the problems and lack of evidence within the entire report, I think it's true. The Cordell report is the fruit of the poisonous tree. Now, also, I just want to say that this appears that to be an orchestrated effort by Mike Callaghy, the unions, Ray Mueller, Nolia Corso, and this is not democracy.
Thank you, Thelma. Giselle Smil, followed by our last speaker, Mike. Giselle, please unmute and begin.
We just heard from Giselle, Madam Clerk.
Oh, my apologies. Let's go to Mike Phillips. Please unmute and begin.
All right, good morning. I keep hearing people call them well-versed administrator judges, but here's the truth. They don't sign orders under judicial capacity. That means every order issued is a denial of due process. No oath, no authority, no law. You could cite case law, Carper versus Fitzgerald, 1887. A judge is not the court, and when they act outside their judicial capacity, like signing ADR orders, they are not exercising lawful authority. They're acting as private arbitrators. That's not due process. That's impersonation of a court. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. President, back to you.
Great, thank you very much. I want to thank the public online and in the chambers for their comments. What is the pleasure of the board? Are there any comments?
Supervisor Spear.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have for some time felt that we needed retired judges participating in this process. After hearing Mr. Estrada today say that even the third more enhanced hearing is going to be by someone very informed about POBAR, but not a retired judge, it's really given me reason to pause. So my question to you, Mr. Neblin, is are we at a point where we can still amend this procedure?
Board hasn't acted on it yet. The board can, of course, amend it in any way it chooses to. I would note that Mr. Estrada had, well, let me just stop there for a moment. Yes, of course, you can make changes that you deem appropriate. The board hasn't yet acted to adopt these procedures.
Supervisor Spear, my memory of Mr. Estrada's comment in that area was that there'd be future actions to actually appoint who that hearing officer is. I, when you're questioning, heard the same thing and thought, well, we can take care of that at the time the board actually moves to, if the board gets to that point, moves to appoint the hearing officer.
I want to clarify though, Supervisor Mueller, I don't think it, and Mr. Estrada can correct me, I don't think the intent necessarily, if the board approves these procedures, I don't think the intent was that the actual appointment of hearing officers would need to come back to the board. That would be something that would happen in a process that would not, again, necessarily require board action. What Mr. Estrada had noted is that there are a number of extremely skilled and experienced people in the state of California who are not retired judges, frankly, are probably better qualified than most retired judges to deal with these kinds of matters because that is their job as they deal with them day in and day out. So it was our recommendation that we, sort of look in that direction. And I think Mr. Estrada had noted that, we would not in the ordinary course expect them necessarily to be retired judges, but again, it's up to the board to decide if they want to make adjustments at this point.
My apologies, Supervisor Spear.
That's all right. So I feel strongly that we should have a retired judge in the POBAR hearing, in addition to a retired judge or group of judges at the final, more expansive hearing. So I would like to offer that as an amendment to these procedures.
All right. So, Ms. Spear, are you making a motion, or are you just?
Yes. If you want further, I am persuaded that the person who should review the POBAR hearing of the sheriff should be a retired judge and not the probation officer.
I guess what I would say to that, Supervisor Spear, is that, again, we will revise this pursuant to the will of the board. Again, we were trying to track the ordinary, we were trying to track the POBAR process, and that typically contemplates that you would have somebody internal to a police department. If we were going to use the analogy, you'd have the assistant chief, for example, be we'll call it to use the term we're using, the POBAR officer, the pre-decisional officer. So it would be unusual in that context, frankly, to have an outside judge, for example, sit in that role. So I'd note that would be something that would deviate, frankly, from the ordinary POBAR process. I don't know if Mr. Estrada maybe wants to speak to that.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with the county attorney on that point. I've handled hundreds of peace officer disciplinary matters throughout my career. Not once have I ever, at the pre-removal conference, had any of those cases where a retired judge presided over it and not somebody actually from the county or city. And then just separately, same goes for the hundreds of disciplinary appeals I've also handled in the public safety realm. Again, not once have I had a superior court or retired judge of any sort preside over those matters. Both unions and employers want the experts in the area, and the experts in POBAR are very clearly the folks who handled the disciplinary appeals of peace officers in the state of California, have done so for some time, and really have created the substantive law in the area.
Supervisor Canepa, I apologize. Normally, I would just get up and excuse myself from the room, but I don't think that's appropriate in this hearing, and I do need to excuse myself from the room. So could we have just a 5-minute break?
Sure. What we're going to do right now is we're going to have a 5-minute break. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Okay, the board is currently in recess and time is 10:36 a.m. Thank you.
Point of order, is that a recusal?
No, I'm going to the bathroom, Dan.
Thank you.
Zoom in about 15 seconds. Mr. President, the time is now 10:46 a.m. We're back in open session. For the record, all supervisors are present. Please proceed, Mr. President.
Great. Thank you very much. Supervisor Corzo.
Thank you, President Canepa. This process is extremely detailed and well thought out. I appreciate the County Attorney's Office and Mr. Estrada for all of the thought and conversation that went into clarifying details. This board does all of its discussion and decision-making in public, and it's available for the public to review as far back as when all of this began. And I want to recognize that this is unprecedented, as President Canepa said previously, which makes this level of detail even more important. I have hope that no other county has a need to adopt procedures like the ones before us, but if they do, they will look to San Mateo County for precedent on this matter. I'm prepared to accept this process as proposed, and I want the public to know that 90,900 voters in this county entrusted this board to do so. Thank you, and I move to approve the procedures as presented.
Great. Thank you very much. There is a motion on the table.
A second it.
Great. Supervisor Spear? Do you have any comments?
Well, I've indicated my interest in wanting to see a retired judge participate in this process. And I think I'm going to just leave it at that.
Great. Colleagues, I'm not adverse to having a retired judge as well involved in this process. I don't know where the board, if there are any, where the board may lie on this issue. I'll open it up, but I do think Supervisor Spear brings up a different idea, an idea that I think is sensible. Are there any comments from colleagues?
So my only comment on this issue is the issue of qualification. And so I feel, so at first glance, hearing retired judge makes sense. But if there's a lack of qualified retired judges experienced in POBAR, then it becomes more difficult to try to find someone for scheduling and whatnot. So, but what I would be interested in doing is what I thought the original plan was, and that would be that we would adopt the procedures today and then revisit the qualifications, because what I would think would be interesting and important to know from a relevance perspective is to hear back from council as to whether or not there are qualified judges with the same level of qualification for this process. If that council comes back and says there are not, then that would potentially inform this board as to what to do. If they came back and said, yes, of course, we can do that, that would inform the board what to do.
County Council.
Mr. President, thank you. And Supervisor Mueller, I want to kind of check my understanding of kind of what's been suggested, and that is that we'd be looking at perhaps a tweak to the procedures that would mandate that county staff would come back to the board prior to assuming we reach the stage, prior to the actual preparation or finalization of a list of hearing officers, so the board had the opportunity to see, and I guess in a public setting, who was on the list of potential hearing officers, so that before they're submitted to the sheriff for consideration. Again, assuming you reach that stage, is that what I'm understanding?
No, I mean, I respect actually that within the process, the board wasn't going to select these individuals. But I think what would be important to have to come back to the board at a later date would be whether or not there were requisite qualifications the board was interested in. So the board, certainly there are members of the board who are interested in there being a judge. And so whether or not we are advised by counsel publicly whether or not there are qualified judges to do this process. And so I think not. I don't want the board. I personally would not want the board to identify that individual, but I would like the board to look at the qualifications of individuals. Does that make sense? So it's almost blind. You're just looking at qualifications, and you say these qualifications are the qualifications that this board thinks will result in due process, but not actual individuals.
What I would note is that the procedures themselves mandate, and I'm hoping Alfonso can point me to the exact place, generally speaking, that anybody who would be proposed to serve as a hearing officer has to have experience in public safety discipline matters. And I think that's roughly quoting from the procedures. Mr. Estrada, could you confirm that?
Yes, it is embedded right into the procedures. I'm looking for it now. Hearing officer list, section 2. One moment.
Gentlemen, I am trying very as well as I can to reach a compromise between the concerns of my colleagues and the procedures as they currently stand.
Right.
Is there some reason why that there would be difficulty in a report back with respect to the qualifications of the list?
Again, there's no problem with anything the board ultimately wants to include. I just want to be clear on, is that if we're reporting back, are we waiting for board authority to proceed with folks who are on the list? I guess I'm just a little unclear on what the list would.
Can I just jump in here? I want to call for a point of order. We have a motion and a second on the floor, and the motion that was made previously did not receive a second. So I feel like we're at a point where we need to take a vote, and I understand the compromise that Supervisor Mueller is suggesting, and I think the procedures as written allow for that, and I haven't heard anything different.
Well, I want to be fair to Supervisor Spear. I interjected before saying I need to use the restroom before there could be a second. So I took your motion actually as a substitute motion because you were called on before that happened, before there was a question from the president whether there was a second. But so the way I see it is there's a substitute motion on the table. There was never actually an opportunity to second Supervisor Spear's motion. Regardless, I'm trying to figure out a way that I can get all of us on board. I think it's important that this vote be unanimous by the board moving forward.
Mr. President, again, I just wanted to clarify. And bear with me, maybe I just am kind of missing the point. What exactly would it be that staff is being asked to bring back? Just so I'm crystal clear on it.
Go ahead.
Well, I think what would be important is hearing from my colleagues is that they want to see whether or not there are qualifications, including judges, who would have the requisite experience so they could go ahead and look at a list of individuals, not by name or identifying information, just the experience and qualifications of the individuals on the list.
Through County Council, let me interject. Supervisor Mueller, and I want to speak for you on this item. Is that something that you want to include in the motion, or is that something that runs separate? And I think what I'm hearing from County Attorney Niblin is that within the existing procedures and protocol, it's pretty specific on who can fill that role. Is that correct, Mr. Niblin?
Yes, I would want to note that.
John, can I just give the reference to the specific version? So the specific provision and the procedures as currently constituted is in section I, Roman numeral 1, subsection 4, subdivision 6, and it calls that the hearing officers that will be proposed in the list have experience in public safety officer disciplinary matters, available to timely preside over the removal hearing. So that is the language as to the requirements, and it certainly does call for experience in public safety officer disciplinary matters.
So I'm going to confess this is breaking down because I was hoping for more of a discussion, and it seems to be becoming very procedural around votes. So I'm trying to actually have a discussion with my colleagues about how we can move this forward.
Mr. President,
Supervisor Spear.
you know, I think there is a conflict between this interest in wanting to make sure that the initial hearing officer has experience with police efforts or police discipline, whereas we have already set forward what the 4 conditions or 5 conditions are. That's what the voters passed. They passed a measure that gave us the authority to remove the sheriff if there was a showing of violating the law and performance of duties, in neglect of the sheriff's duties, in misappropriation of public funds, in falsification of statements or documents, or obstruction of law to of a sheriff in an investigation into the conduct of a sheriff. So those are the bases on which the voters decided that we would be empowered to terminate the sheriff. Now we're saying that separate and distinct, we're having this hearing in POBAR, which requires having someone who has been involved in disciplining law enforcement. Regardless of that, we still have these 4 or 5 elements, and I don't think you need to be a disciplinarian or someone who has had hearings on POBAR in order to make a finding of this. So I guess I just disagree.
So Supervisor Spear, can I ask because looking at the specific amendment, specific language, if we added to that language with a preference for a judge if qualifications are equal to other qualifications and background, would that satisfy your concern?
It would.
Then I would go ahead and move that forward. So that would allow us to say if they can't locate a judge with that same level of qualification, and you bet that's going to be something that's going to be fought about with opposing counsel. But if they can't, they can't. But if they can, there's a preference of the board that it be so. Are my colleagues in agreement with that? Okay, so let's go ahead then and add that as an amendment. And let's ask Mr. Estrada, is there a problem with that, sir?
My position remains unchanged as far as the benefit of a judicial officer presiding over this type of disciplinary procedure. Judicial officers only really get public safety discipline cases when they go to them on a writ after the fact. It's a very small slice of what sitting judges actually deal with on their docket. So,
well, you will be charged with finding one that with who may have those equal qualifications if you can via this motion.
If they exist, I will endeavor to do so.
Thank you, sir. Great. So I will go ahead and move to add that as a friendly amendment to the motion.
So we need
For a second.
We need the maker of the motion to make that amendment. Yes.
Will you accept that motion, Supervisor Corso?
Before I answer that, I just want to state that the motion that I made, I heard Supervisor Spear's concerns and suggestions, and my understanding of how the procedures are written is that wouldn't be excluded. So I do accept the amendment.
Great, you do. Wonderful. So there's a motion. There's a second.
Thank you, Supervisor Gaucher.
By Gaucher, may I have a roll call, please?
You accept that, right, Supervisor Gaucher? Okay, thank you. I'll take the motion. Supervisor Spear? Thank you. Supervisor Corzo?
Yes.
Thank you, Supervisor Mueller?
Yes.
Thank you, Supervisor Gaucher?
Yes.
And President Canepa?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the public, okay? Thank you. On to lighter subjects. We'll go back to item 1. And this is really special, I think, for all of us. We're going to honor Sheena Hung as Employee of the Month for May 2025 and authorize the President of the Board to sign the commendation. Before we make comments, County Executive, can we give Sheena a big round of applause? County Executive Callaghan.
Thank you. As you know, we always love to recognize our outstanding employees, and Shani Hong is certainly a great example of that. She's an admin assistant one with 3 years of experience in the Assessment and Appeals Board as a clerk, but her experience goes way beyond that. She hit the ground running here for us at the county and has been just such a delight to work with. And this comes from certainly not only me, but her colleagues, and more importantly, the public. As you know, we try to create a remarkable experience for all those that we interact with in the public as public employees. And Shani has really exemplified that in her field, going above and beyond to always help the public. And I would encourage all the board members to read what's in the packet there about the nice comment that was made by a member of the public, how she's friendly and helpful and sat down with her and helped her through her questions and was responsive on her emails. And just a glowing response from the public. But not only that, she's always just so friendly and so upbeat as you see her around the office, and just a great example of one of the many, many employees we have here at the county who really go out of their way to do the right thing. So with that, I'll turn over to Mr. Mankia to just introduce, I think, a speaker that might want to talk about this. Mr. Mankia.
Canapa, members of the board, I really don't have much more to say than what Mike has actually said. I'm going to turn it over to Misty here in a second, because I really think it's about her manager and the people that she works with, because they get the day-to-day experience. I've just really enjoyed having her in the office, walking through the front of the office on a daily basis and seeing her there, and her smile and her energy. And I have to tell you, the way that we've changed. I first came into this office almost 10 years ago, and there was somebody in that seat for 15 years. And the scariness of knowing that AAB is going to be taken over by somebody, and that idea of all of that money being put on the table and really needing to know what's going on and how it all works, she just jumped in. So Sheena really just got in there and got dirty and really began to get it done. So Sheena, I want to thank you, but I'm going to turn it over to Misty so they can explain to you all of her good accomplishments.
Good morning, President Canapa, honorable members of the board, Mr. Callaghan, Mr. Niblin, and Ms. Rodriguez. I am both honored and privileged to be here today to recognize Sheena as the county's Employee of the Month. Although she has worked for the County Executive's Office for nearly 2 years, I've recently only been able to get to know her and see just how exceptional she is, both as an employee and as an individual. Despite having no background in the world of assessment appeals, Sheena quickly took on the challenge of not only learning her job, but excelling at it. She handles a high volume of tasks with ease, ensuring that each responsibility is completed thoroughly and accurately. Her impressive attention to detail, organizational and communication skills have proven vital to her success. Though her role is demanding, she approaches her work with grace and commitment. Her ability to tackle challenging tasks is one of her most admirable qualities. Sheena does not shy away from hard work. Instead, she embraces it with a proactive and problem-solving mindset. While I could go on about the great work she does day to day, what I appreciate most about Sheena is that she arrives each day with a smile on her face, exuding positivity that lifts up the spirits of those around her. And it's a genuine smile. It's one that she provides each individual as she walks in the office and provides a connection with those she meets. It's not just out of pleasantry. The feedback I have received from both taxpayers and staff speaks volumes about Sheena's professionalism and dedication. They highlight her kindness, her friendliness, and her willing to help at every turn. Sheena consistently goes above and beyond, ensuring that the thousands of property tax appeals are efficiently managed and processed, all while maintaining a high standard of quality in her work. Mr. Callaghy alluded to this, but I'm going to read the email that a resident went out of their way to find my email and be able to provide this feedback to me. Quote, Sheena was consistently professional, kind, and exceptionally helpful at every stage. She was highly responsive to emails, always eager to provide clear and accurate information, and demonstrated extensive knowledge of the procedures involved. She also ensured that all legal requirements were properly followed. At one particularly difficult point when I was feeling overwhelmed, Sheena took time to sit down with me and personally guided me through completing the application correctly. Her patience and dedication made a significant difference in my experience. It has been an absolute pleasure working with her. We would like to commend the county for having such an exemplary employee and express my sincere gratitude for the level of service she provided. End quote. I feel exceptionally lucky that Sheena is part of our team, and I'm grateful that we can recognize her accomplishments here today. I would like to pass this on quickly to Lisa Cho from our county's attorney's office, who handles our assessment appeals board, to just say a few words.
Good morning, President Canepa, honorable members of the board, Mr. Callaghy, Mr. Nibble, and Ms. Rodriguez. I have been serving as counsel to our Assessment Appeals Board for the past 5 years. It is an arm of this board. It handles all of the property tax appeals that come before this county. We've had about 1,600 plus appeals filed every year. And I have to say, in the time that I've worked with Sheena, she keeps us on track with all of these appeals, working with members of the public. Property taxes are not something that people usually smile about. But the number of times that we've had members of the public talk about what an exemplary person she is, how much she exudes professionalism and friendliness in all of her interactions. I'm so proud of you, Sheena, just for getting that reaction from members of our public and how well you serve and represent our county, really. I can speak on behalf of our board, our 6 commissioners who serve on the AAB, that it is such a pleasure to work with you. Thank you so much for keeping us on track and for just being a great colleague to work with. I'm really, really happy for this honor. She's a gem, truly, and thank you for recognizing her as the Employee of the Month. Thank you so much.
County Counsel?
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you. I just wanted to note that, I just wanted to dovetail actually on what my colleague, Ms. Joe, had to say. And this is the area of work, just the work that the AAB does and the work that the clerk does. I mean, the consequences of the work being done really well, are seen in the work that Sheena does every day. But when things come off track, and historically, we've sometimes had challenges. I have to tell you, in the last few years, I have not had conversations with my colleagues about about issues down there. For me, normally when I'm not hearing about something, it's great news. And I just want to sort of note that we've really gotten wonderful service from the AAB clerk, and things have just been moving along in a really positive way. It's been noted that there's just a very, very high volume of work that goes through that office. And I'm just so endlessly impressed by how efficiently the work is getting done. I just wanted to note that.
Excellent. Any comments from board members? Yes, Supervisor Mueller.
I just wanted to say, as a board member, hearing everyone talk about it, you light up. You just do. And people walk into the office for these hearings, and this is not their best day. And you put them at ease, and it's just a wonderful thing to watch from afar as a supervisor, to see that taking place. You are you earned this.
Thank you. I remember the first time I got to visit County Center in the old office building, and I remember seeing Sheena, and I remember how I was impacted by her smile because I was nervous. This was something new for me, and it did put me at ease. And so it is really amazing that she's able to do that for the public when they go to these kind of high stakes hearings. And Sheena, thank you for continuing to put a smile on people's faces. And I think you're one of those special kinds of people that is able to do that, even if you personally have things going on. And we just want to recognize how grateful we are for your presence, and we hope that you stay as long as you want. Thank you so much.
Supervisor Spear.
Sheena, we've had a couple of interactions that have been so sweet. And I must tell you that, as everyone has said, you do light up the room. And we need to clone you. So maybe what we need to do is have you give some kind of a special training to those that want to be Sheena-like, because you are a true public servant, and we're very grateful for your service.
Supervisor Gaucher.
We haven't had a chance to really work together long, but I want to just say congratulations on this acknowledgement. I enjoy hearing all of the accolades that you've received, and just watching you here on the front row, I see the happiness, and so I can imagine what the residents and customers are receiving when they interact with you. Again, congratulations.
Great. First of all, I want to thank, we're all part of a team. I really want to thank your office, the assessment appeals office. And I want to, if you're involved in that office, can you please stand with Sheena? Come on, stand. Come on. You both work so hard, the complexity. What many people don't realize is that you don't represent the assessor's office. In fact, what you do is you represent the Board of Supervisors during the appeal process, as stated. Sheena, make no mistake about it, you are truly someone who cares about your colleagues. You're a person who's very thoughtful, detail-oriented. I mean, you embody what's right as an employee here in San Mateo County. I've seen the both of you, Sheena, work outside of normal business hours to get the job done, and the workload and the volume that you have. And then working with our appeals board. This isn't easy work. We're talking about large companies. We're talking about private owners. But really, you've done just such an exceptional job. I know your family is extraordinarily proud of you, representing Supervisor Mueller's district in Pacifica. But really, I think if we had employees like you do, and we have a lot of them, with that smile, but with the effort, your work ethic, you go beyond the call of duty, and the taxpayer here in San Mateo County should be proud of the effort that you put forward. And so with that, Sheena, would you like to say a couple words? Come on up.
Honorable Supervisors and County Executive Team, I'm truly honored to be recognized as Employee of the Month. I want to sincerely thank my colleagues, Suki, Sherry, Molly, Freesia, Maria, and Sonia, our AAB attorney, Lisa Cho, and Brian Kulik, our commissioners and my managers, Misty, Mike Bolender, Heather, and Robert, and lastly, my family. Because without all of them, this recognition would not have been possible. As the clerk of the Assessment Appeals Board, I have the privilege of helping taxpayers navigate through their assessment appeals process. While this role may seem like a very small role in a larger government county operation, I have come to appreciate and realize that even quiet, behind-the-scene efforts can make a meaningful impact on people's life of our residents. That's why I want to celebrate this recognition with all of us, all the employees that work diligently behind the scene with their effort and heart for service. I'm very grateful to be part of this mission, and I'm determined to continue learning and growing as a public servant. Lastly, I wanted to say, even though I'm quiet, oftentimes sit in a corner, but I'm always doing my best. And moving forward, I will continue to do my best to serve the people at County of San Mateo. Thank you so much again for this honor.
Would anyone like to make public comment?
Sure. Members of the public, if you wish to speak, please fill out a speaker slip, but I don't see any hands raised. And maybe I'll say something, Mr. President. Yes. I did AAB for 3 months. I think I got more white hair than my kids giving me white hair. But she is great. She works great with her employees, with the taxpayers, with the assessor's office, and I think maybe next year we can give her an award for the year or maybe a decade. So I think doing great.
Have to listen to your clerk. Are there any other public comments?
Sure. I think, Madam Clerk, I think you might have something to say, or maybe ask for public comment as well.
Sure, I'll go ahead and take the comment on Zoom, and then I do have a few words to say. We do have Christine Talava Aguirre from the Assessor's Office. Please unmute and begin.
Hello. I work at the, can you see me? Oh, no, you can't see me. I work at the assessor's office, and we've been working with Sheena for a while now. And
Oh, we just lost your audio. Christine? You're still unmuted, but we don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, I think we lost you again. Oh, Christine. Okay, let me go to Adrienne and we'll come back to you, Christine.
Okay, there we go.
Oh,
Can you hear
you're
me now?
back? Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm with the assessor's office, and I have been through quite a few assessment appeal board clerks, and it has been such a pleasure to work with Sheena, and we're so happy that she is here now. And I can say that all of the appraisers and auditors in our office truly love her. And thank you so much for recognizing her. She totally deserves it. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Now we'll go to Adrienne from the Assessor's Office. Please unmute and begin.
I am Adrienne with the Assessor's Office. Again, I also want to share my appreciation of Sheena. She is just amazing, so responsive, so helpful. She's great with our department. I know she's great with the public. I'm so happy that she's getting recognized. And everybody in our office agreed as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. President, that's the end of the Zoom comments. If I just may make my own comments for Sheena. I just want to say Sheena is a synonym for sunshine. She is such a positive presence. Her energy is so positive, and anytime there's something that needs to be done, she is enthusiastic to make it happen without hesitation. Her joyful spirit is infectious, and I am grateful that we get to experience her smile and her energy. Every office truly does need a Sheena, and I'm just so happy, Sheena, that you're being honored today. Just keep smiling and don't ever stop being you. So thank you. Thank you to the board.
All right, seeing that there are no additional comments, would one of my colleagues like to make a motion for this item? All right. Roll call, please.
Who seconded? Okay, Supervisor Garcia, thank you. I'll take the roll call. Supervisor Spear? Thank you. Supervisor Corzo?
Yes.
Supervisor Mueller?
Yes.
Thank you. Supervisor Gaucher?
Yes.
And President Canepa?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, we have a gift for you.
Scooch in just a little bit. Oh, the family too. Come on. Oh. Ooh. Just scooch in just a little bit there. Okay.
Come up on this side.
Okay, everybody ready? 1, 2, 3.
Before we go into the next item, County Attorney, Supervisor Gaucher would like to make some comments about a missing hiker.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you. And I apologize that I missed it early on, but just wanted to, let's keep Margaret Elaine McKinley in our prayers. She is from Redwood City. She is still missing. The hiker that is missing here in San Mateo County. That doesn't, it's just something that we're concerned about. I think it's been 5 days that she has been in the Windy Hills Preserve. Want to thank all those who are searching for her. Again, let's keep her in our prayers and keep those who are searching for her in our prayers as well. Thank you.
All right, that brings us to, and thank you for that. That brings us to item 2, presentation of proclamation designating May 4th to 10th, 2025 as Correctional Officers and Correctional Employee Week. This is brought to us by Supervisor Mueller and the County Executive. Supervisor Mueller.
Thank you. So yeah, we have a proclamation declaring and designating May 4th and through 10th as Correctional Officers and Correctional Employees Week. We really want to take this time to thank our correctional officers who show up every day in very tough circumstances with endurance, dedication to duty, and determination. It matters for the safety of this institution, to the dignity of those who are in custody, and to the integrity of our community and county. We want to thank them for their commitment to serve. Is there anyone here from the Sheriff's Office who wanted to speak? Sheriff Corpus?
Good morning, President Canepa, Board of Supervisors, and other county employees, members of the public. Thank you so much for allowing us to come up and speak. As we mark Correctional Officers Week, I want to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude and heartfelt appreciation to each and every one of these employees. This week shines a spotlight on our vital contributions, but their dedication, sacrifice deserve recognition every single day. Corrections are and have always been the heart of the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office. I began my own law enforcement journey as a correctional officer, and I carry that experience with me every single day. I know firsthand the challenges they all face, the discipline and the focus needed, and the courage it takes to do their job with integrity and professionalism. The demands of correctional staff have never been greater. Our facilities now operate not only as secure environments for the incarcerated, but increasingly as complex medical and mental health centers. New laws and mandates continue to reshape our responsibilities, often under incredibly difficult and evolving circumstances. These added pressures, whether related to safety, resource constraints, or shifting expectations, have been met with remarkable strength and resilience by all of the correctional staff. Their ability to adapt to meet challenges head-on and to care for those in our custody while maintaining safety and security reflects their exemptional commitment to public service. They embody the principles of respect, responsibility, and professionalism that are at the foundation of this office. I'd also like to recognize the personnel sacrifices that each and every one of our employees make and their families in order to provide service to our profession. Working in corrections requires not just physical presence, but emotional strength, compassion, and vigilance. They are often the unseen heroes, and I want to make it clear that their work matters, their safety matters, and their well-being remains a top priority. I'm incredibly proud of our correctional staff as I lead this agency with dedicated, skilled, and compassionate professionals that serve in this county. They are the essential to safety in our community and in the integrity of the office. Their efforts define what true service looks like. This week is very important to us as I said, they are our unsung heroes, and we have such a complexity in our facility to serve. And I just wanted to say thank you to each and every one of you for this proclamation.
Thank you.
Supervisor Mueller.
Do we have, we can go ahead and move public comment unless any of my colleagues have a comment? No?
Sure.
public comment?
Well, that's public comment. Sorry. Supervisor Spear gave me chocolate, so I'm chewing on that. Okay, no speakers from chambers. Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Members on Zoom, please click raise hand to comment for item 2 for Correctional Officers and Correctional Employees Week. No hands raised, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you very much. Supervisor Mueller.
I believe Supervisor Corzo.
Supervisor
has
Corzo.
gone.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that as someone who's gotten the chance to see what it's like to be in a county jail for not just, I'm sorry, let me start over. My first interactions with the county jail and with correctional officers in our county was through visiting family members for many years as a young person. And I remember them always being professional and kind, and they deserve to have support and great working conditions. And that it's really hard work. So I do want to recognize all of the correctional officers who are doing the work on a day-to-day basis and kind of seeing people at their worst. And I want to recognize that they also are working and in a county jail for hours and hours and hours, and that takes a toll. And so it's not easy work. They deserve to be recognized, and I want every correctional officer to know that we value their work and that we will continue to support them as best we can. Thank you.
So with that, President Kemp, I'd like to go ahead and move the item.
All right, is there a second? Second. All right. Roll call, please.
Sure. Supervisor Spear?
Aye.
Thank you. Supervisor Corzo?
Yes.
Supervisor Mueller?
Yes.
Supervisor Gaucher?
Yes.
And President Canepa?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Colleagues, I'm going to go ahead and go down and take a picture.
Great.
Great. Sheriff Corpus, if your team would like to accept the proclamation for me.
I think we should.
I'll go after you. Okay, one more. Thank you. Really quickly, one more. Thank you.
All right. All right. We'll now move to item 3, which is a presentation of proclamation designating May 2025 as Small Business Month in San Mateo County. This item is sponsored by Supervisor Mueller.
Thank you, President Canepa. You know, every year we take a moment to recognize small businesses, but this year in particular, it's incredibly important to do so with the uncertainty in the economy, with tariffs coming down, making life incredibly difficult for our small business owners. More than ever, we need to stop in a month and really think about how are we spending our money as consumers? What are we doing to uplift those who are working every day as small business owners? I want to commend our numerous chambers of commerce throughout the county and the Small Business Development Center, Renaissance Entrepreneurship, for all the work they do to support growth of small businesses. At this time, we have 2 speakers. We'd like to highlight Chef Gilberto Godinez Garcia. He's a small business owner at Chef Gillies. Chef Gilberto has an inspirational story which speaks with passion, tenacity, and a drive of small business community. Congratulations, Chef Gilberto. He was going to join us via Zoom. It's been a long day, though. I'm not sure he's still with us. So I'd ask the clerk.
Sure. Madam Clerk, could you check for Mr. Gilberto?
For 1 moment. Okay, moving to panelists.
Mr. President.
Well, we certainly understand he's not. So then the next person we have to speak today is our Chief Executive Optimist of the Coastside Chamber of Commerce, Chris Lingite.
We do have a Gilberto available now, Supervisor.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, then let's go ahead and let Chef Gilberto, and then we'll take you, Chris.
Go ahead, Mr. Godinez.
First of all, I want to say thank you for the opportunity. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Like I said, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Gilberto Godinez, and I am proud to be here today as living proof that transformation is not only possible, it's powerful. There was a time when my life was heading in the wrong direction. I was young, struggling, and searching for a way out. I knew I had more to offer, but I didn't know where to begin. Everything changed the day I walked into Free at Last. And from there, I found my way to Job Train. Through their culinary arts training program, I found not only structure and skill, but something far more important. I found hope. I learned that my hands, once used to survive, could now create. The spark ignited something in me, and today I'm proud to be the owner of a small catering company, a business that grew out of second chances and the belief that people can change, grow, and contribute meaningfully to our community. And that's why I am here to speak not only about my journey, but about the critical role small businesses play in the health and growth of our country, our county. Small businesses are the heartbeat of local economies. We generate jobs, revitalize neighborhoods, and create opportunity, especially for those who have historically been left behind. In my business, I now have the chance to hire others, give back to local suppliers, and serve organizations right here in the county. That ripple effect is real, and it starts with a single opportunity. The support of county programs and organizations like Job Train doesn't just change individual lives. It helps build local businesses, strengthens the economic foundation of our communities, and shows what's possible when government, nonprofits, and people come together. At the center of my journey is my family. They are my reason, my anchor, and my future. Every hour I put into my business is also an investment in them and in the future of the county we call home. Board members, your leadership and continued support for workforce development, reentry programs, and small business initiatives is not just policy, it's personal. It creates real impact in the lives of people like me and in the communities we serve. Thank you for believing in people. Thank you for investing in programs that empower growth. And thank you for helping small businesses like mine become part of the solution, building stronger families, stronger neighborhoods, and a stronger county. Thank you.
Thank you. So well said, Chef Gilberto. We have something for you that we will be bringing to you, but thank you for joining us today and speaking so well. I'd also like to invite Chrislyn to the dais at this time.
Thank you so much, Crystalline with the Coastside Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, supervisors, for recognizing small businesses and understanding what they bring to the community. I would like to ask that all of our residents, both in chambers, on Zoom, and watching this after, please make an adventure out of shopping local. We're tired of saying shop local. You're tired of hearing it. It has been said so many times that it goes in one ear and out the other. However, I have great fond memories with all three of my parents about our shopping trips where my dad tries on jeans that are too small and we try to find that perfect duvet for when I go off to college. And you cannot have those experiences by ordering online. And same goes with restaurants like our dear sweet chef. You cannot have experiences like that every day by ordering DoorDash. I myself am not a cook, so I do love going out to those restaurants and exploring all that they have to offer. So please, everybody, continue to shop local. It's the best thing you can do for the economy. It's the best thing you can do to keep your downtowns vibrant. And it's the best thing you can do for the county because the taxes that you pay on those items come right back to our services that we so lovingly need. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, what I'd like to say to those who are interested in starting a new business, there's never been such a time with so much vacancy available to do so. If you're wishing to start a new business and if you want new information how to do so, please visit the San Mateo County website and click on starting a business in San Mateo County. There will also be a Bay Area Small Business Procurement Summit on May 13th, 2025 at the Soprado Community Center at 330 Twin Dolphin Drive, Redwood City, from 9 to 3 p.m.
All right. With that, thank you, Supervisor Mueller. Do we have public comment?
Thank you, Mr. President. No speakers from chambers, so Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Those on Zoom, please click raise hand to comment for item 3 for Small Business Month. No hands raised, Mr. President.
Supervisor Mueller, would you like to make the motion?
I'd go ahead and move the item.
Is there a second? Second. All right, second by Gaucher. Supervisor Gaucher, roll call, please.
Sure. Supervisor Spear? Thank you. Supervisor Corzo?
Yes.
Supervisor Mueller?
Yes.
Supervisor Gaucher?
Yes.
And President Canepa?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right.
So I'd like to go ahead and provide Ms. Skite with her proclamation.
It's so good, isn't it?
Beautiful.
Public Works Week. Moving on to item 4, presentation of proclamation designating the week of May 18th to the 24th, 2025 as Public Works Week in San Mateo County. This is brought to us by Supervisor Mueller and Supervisor Gaucher.
Thank you so very much to the chair. Public Works Weeks is a chance for us to recognize the vital role our public works staff has in design, construction, maintenance, and management of public infrastructure, which includes our roads, bridges, drainage facilities, utilities, and buildings, just to name a few. It is also a reminder that Public Works has a first responder role during natural disaster events, such as earthquakes, landslides, and floods, which has been very clear to us during the past wet winters. I'd like to thank all of the Public Works staff for their service. Again, just coming from the city of East Palo Alto, I know firsthand what it means to have Public Works and all the work that you have to do. And to the county, I see the work. We see you. We appreciate you for all that you do. I'm now going to turn it over to Supervisor Mueller for remarks as well.
Thank you. Well, so first off, I just want to say to your whole team who was here, who obviously had to leave, we're sorry. We appreciate you so much, and we appreciate your team so much. My district is 340 square miles of every type of terrain you could want. And on top of that, not do you only have to keep it working, that through all sorts of natural environment catastrophes, landslides, potholes, floods, whole roads disappearing. Not only do you have to keep all of that working, but you also have to respond and under the pressure to keep up improvements, to bring in all of those beyond repairs, just improving roadways. And that intersection for all of those things puts you in contact with people on very tough days. You're either dealing with them in the middle of a natural hazard event where they're very stressed, or you're dealing with them at the intersection of something interacting with their home. And that puts you guys in a tough situation sometimes. And I just can't express enough to you how much we appreciate you, how grateful we are for your work. And the one thing that when we're out there that I constantly hear from residents of the county is they'll say, I wish that area that state agency was county, because I know it'd be taken care of. I know it'd be addressed. And that's a direct reflection of the professionalism and the work that you and your team do. So thank you so incredibly much.
County Executive, Mr. Callaghy.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to recognize Ann and her team. You know, in over 4 decades of public service, I've worked with a lot of public works directors. I simply think that Ann is probably one of the best I've ever worked with. Her dedication, the way that she cares, the breadth and depth of her knowledge is second to none. I call late at night, she's in the office. I call on weekends, she picks up. She is always working. In fact, I encourage her to take more vacation time, but she never does. She's just outstanding, and really it starts at the top. And I think that Public Works does such an incredible job on so many different fronts, and they're always there during the worst moments when it's pouring rain out there and when things are going bad. They're out there when everyone's tucked away in their houses. So I just want to say personally thank you, Ann, to you and your entire team for what you do day in and day out.
Wonderful. Ms. Stillman?
Thank you so much. And I think it's still morning, so good morning, President Canepa, honorable members of the board, Mr. Callaghy, Ms. Rodriguez, and Mr. Niblin. Yeah, excited to be here today. Only 1 week out of the entire year do we get to celebrate Public Works Week. It's a National Public Works Week, so we try to make it fun and really take the opportunity to thank our teams for all of the hard work they do. Every year they have a different theme too. So this year it is people, purpose, and presence, as you see up there. I do have a presentation to walk through with you. And, you know, certainly I can't show you all the pictures of what we do. Hopefully it's a good sampling of some of the variety of things we do. I can't show you all of our staff too, but just want to make sure that, you know, this is about all of them. It's not about just those that are pictured here and just about the work that we're representing, but it's really about our entire team, which is pretty big. So here we go. Oh yes, and there are pictures and captions, and I'll add to it. So airports, the Half Moon Bay and San Carlos Airport, the team there, some of what the San Carlos Airport helps support in terms of community events, new electric vehicles purchased with grant funding, and that big X says don't land here when the field is closed, converting our lighting systems to LED, tractor to maintain our infields, the administrative services group and all they do, cross-training opportunities to really educate other divisions about the work we do. We've got folks that work on computers, and with facilities, we maintain the facilities, lots of them. There's a floor. We also work on the parking, enforcement, more building services work. Capital projects, we finished a project in East Palo Alto, which is great. That's the lobby on the right. Some of the things you don't get to see, but you see it in this picture, the upper left-hand corner, pretty cool. Compressor, also finishing an elevator project. Solar at the Maple Street Jail. Some of the other work we do. Work for the shelters, the repair work that we do, left side versus the right side after we finished our work to fix that. Work at the hospitals, so medical center, the work we do up there. Special team dedicated to that work. More pictures of health and hospital work. Cool pictures of the inerts of, you know, boilers and stuff like that. Compressors and fixing those condensing units, showers, getting everybody situated in COB3, storage container for some of materials from the homeless, some of the top of roof facilities, roads and road services. Yes, we maintain it. So big equipment, smaller equipment, fixed tires. They do a variety of work in the road division, and like you said, they're out there clearing trees. We also have to maintain and regulate the road right-of-way, so our team works on that. storm response van or trailer that we've outfitted. That's just sort of a standard vehicle. We have sewer and sanitation districts. We have to see the conditions of the pipelines with closed circuit television. There's a 500,000 gallon water tank. You always wonder what it looks like. It's right there on the left-hand side. Customer service, fixing roads when they go out, completed project on the right. Trash capture device right in front of a storm pump station. All that gross stuff that we have to take out because we have to get to zero trash. Beautiful environment that we have to work with and take care of. Not all of our sewer lines are in roadways. They're sometimes in easements, and we have repair work to do. Another repair project on the left-hand side, and monitoring, because once you mitigate, it's a gift that keeps giving. Another road repair project, generator that was installed for CSA 7 in La Honda, assistance to One Shoreline for some of their work along Colma Creek, working on sidewalk work on Santa Cruz Avenue, more trash capture device on an inlet. Murata Road was another project that we had to work on where the road was degraded by wave action, as you can see, converted it to one-way northbound, and on the right-hand side, the completed project. And that gets me to the plug for, we are going to have, this is the second year, we're doing an equipment show, DPW equipment show, on the week of Public Works Week on Wednesday, May 21st from 9 to 1, and we'll be out by the parking structures. It's your opportunity it's open to you, to the public, to other county staff members, anybody that wants to come by and get up close and personal with some of that really cool equipment that our team works with on a regular basis. We'll have some educational information for people too. So just wanted to do a plug for that. And then also just really want to give my thanks and our thanks to the board for all of the work that you do and your support. It is imperative for your support in order for us to work and get our work done. And then also Mike Callaghy, Justin Mates, the CEO's office, and the other departments that our department works with and relies upon to help get our work done. And also want to thank our department, recognize all that we do, and the individuals that get our work done. Our work benefits the public, other departments, a wide variety and range of responsibilities that we have, and our work is really important. So a big thanks to our DPW team and just wanting all of them to know that they are very appreciated. That concludes my presentation, and thank you for all of your kind words. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Supervisor Mueller. We did have a wonderful group here especially from the road division, but they had to get out, deal with the roads and everything else that was going on. But it was nice. This was, I think, their first time in the chambers, so that was great for them, and to be able to see how some of the business takes place. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Supervisor Spear.
Thank you, Mr. President. After watching your video presentation here of all the things you do, the fact that you would deal with small incidents in our districts is even more impressive. So I've only been here 4 months, but you've been really very responsive and a true professional. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Great job, Ann. Do we have any public comment?
Thank you, Mr. President. No speakers from chambers. Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Those on Zoom, please click raise hand to comment for item 4, Public Works Week. No hands raised, Mr. President.
Thank you so much. Back to you, Supervisor Mueller.
I'm actually going
Supervisor
to.
Corzo.
I'm sorry. I was going to turn it over to Supervisor Gaucher.
I'd make a motion that we proclaim or designate the week of May 18th through the 24th as Public Works Week.
I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Sure. Supervisor Spear?
Aye.
Thank you, Supervisor Corzo.
Yes, and I just want to thank you and all of your team for doing that really labor-intensive, unseen work on a regular basis. And the work of the Public Works team is something that is essential and that we need, and that our community at large needs. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Supervisor Mueller.
Yes.
Thank you, Supervisor Gaucher.
Yes.
And President Canepa.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
And we have a proclamation for you.
Okay.
Awesome. And then the last standing, or sitting and standing, maybe come on up. I know we have 3 at least here. Come on, please.
Yeah. You are the star. And scoot you a little. Wonderful. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
All right, it's now time for us to move to the regular agenda. We start with item 5, which is a resolution authorizing an agreement with Our Common Ground for substance use disorder treatment services from June 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2027, for an amount not to exceed $18,552,817. This comes from Health, and I believe we have Dr. J.
Good morning, President Canapa, Honorable Board Supervisors, County Execs, and Community. So again, Jay Africa, Director of Behavioral Health and Recovery Services. I don't have a fun slide like Ann Stillman, but I'll do my best here. The item for your consideration is again to approve a 2-year agreement with Our Common Ground to provide a variety of services, including detox, outpatient intensive outpatient services, residential treatment services to adult residents in the county. OCG, as we call them, takes a comprehensive approach to care from individualized, residential, and outpatient treatment, family and group therapy, alcohol and drug testing, recovery services, relapse prevention, and recovery residents. I want to highlight 2 things that they started in the last year. In July 1 of 2024, OCG launched Contingency Management or Recovery Incentives, which is a new evidence-based 24-week program that targets individuals struggling specifically with stimulant use or meth. Participants in this program are offered small incentives in the form of gift cards to promote positive behavioral changes towards their recovery. So they should have, for example, a negative drug screen, free from, for example, meth. And in each appointment, they are able to get a quick counseling session, intervention, and then also link them to additional services. Since they began in July, OCG has served 26 clients in this program, and up to date, 99% of individuals participating in contingency management have been, 99% of these drug tests have been negative for meth out of 791 tests. And then also a few months later, in September of 2024, OCG also obtained a license to provide withdrawal management. If I was here a few weeks ago that talked about Horizon, it's the same service, detox, specifically for 6 beds for males in this county. OCG offers what we call clinically managed detox services in a residential setting, 24-hour, 7 days a week. Clients are monitored and supervised by registered and substance use counselors, MDs, LVNs, or EMT staffs. There's a medical component there that sort of supports. These services are considered urgent and medically necessary to protect life and decrease significant illness or disability. Also at the same time, OCG was approved by the state, the Department of Healthcare Services, to become a provider for what we call incidental medical services under the Drug Medi-Cal program. IMS is really important because it serves as a facility where a healthcare practitioner staff under, for example, a supervision of a doctor or a nurse can address the medical concerns associated with detox or residential services. This addition of the on-site medical provider can enhance client monitoring during their withdrawal, which can really be difficult for people, especially if they're in a residential setting. Since 2024, since actually November 2024, OCG had 58 client admissions, and readmission rate is 7.14%. So we have a low readmission, so people successfully finish the program. And as you remember, folks in residential treatment are average about 30 days, and folks in detox average about 3 to 5 days. So 95% of clients in OCG complete successful withdrawal and also are linked to different lower levels of care. For example, intensive outpatient or outpatient services. Again, these are mandated and required services by the state. And just for last part for data, in 2023 to 24, OCG had 152 admissions in their residential program, and with a readmission rate of 6%, right? So 3 people out of 50 in our rates came back without finishing the program. There had been 80 admissions in their intensive and outpatient programs. And since July of last year, they have been averaging about 70% or 17 over the 24 beds in terms of filling out their beds. So that is a slight increase now for over the years that we've seen. We are really seeing that our providers are increasing their utilization given sort of the technical assistance that we've been providing them. So again, these services are state mandated, and we are grateful that OCG continues to be a partner with us. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. G. Are there any comments from the board? Yes, Supervisor Corzo.
Thank you, Dr. Africa, for the presentation. We know that these are essential services. It's very impressive to hear how successful this specific program is, and I would hope that we can pass this today and really look at how they've been able to be successful and encourage other organizations that provide similar services to rise to that level. And I hope that they are able to help as many people as needed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any additional public comment or comments from the board? Excuse me.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Dr. Africa, thank you so much. We do appreciate all the work. Just looking at the number, it's a lot of money going into a 6-bed facility, but I do appreciate the work that they're doing. Does the program allow open classes as well? I know there's 6 beds, but are there other classes that come together to kind of help individuals as well?
So that new one is a 6-bed, a new service called the Detox. Actually, they provide about 24 residential beds in addition to the 6 beds. So again, residential service, it's 24/7. People are withdrawing, crisis happens, they need counseling, all of those things, 24/7. So it's really important. It's really expensive services. And also, we added the incidental medical services, where now you have a medical provider or supervised by a medical provider to help them in that process. So it can be really expensive, but this is 24/7. So 24 beds for residential, 6 beds for detox, and then they provide services to, I think, the contingency management, and they do groups and therapy and outpatient services. So it's really a lot.
No, I appreciate it. Again, I'm impressed by their numbers of success. I do agree that it would be nice for others to be able to show the same results. So again, thank you.
Yeah.
Supervisor Spear.
Thank you, Dr. Africa. I noticed that on our agenda today, we have a number of substance use contracts that amount to over $38 million. And some of these contracts have been in existence for 20 years or more. So at some point, I think it would be of interest to many of us to have just a second in-depth discussion about all these programs and evaluate them, and also get your input when we have enough time to spend a couple hours talking about them, maybe a special session.
Yeah. Yeah, so every few years we do an RFP, as you know, and we do a full evaluation. As you had asked me before, we do monthly monitorings with them. We do fiscal monitoring. We're programmatic. But we are lucky that they've been here for many decades, but also I feel like we need a variety of providers also that are bringing evidence-based practice. So sure, I'm happy to provide more information as we do a more thorough deep dive.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Let's move to public comment.
Thank you, Mr. President. No speakers from chambers for item number 5. Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Zoom, please click raise hand to comment for item 5, our common ground. No hands raised, Mr. President.
Great. Are there any further comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, now that we've heard all this, is there a motion to adopt the resolution? All right, moved by Gaucher, second.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Spear. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Supervisor Spear?
Aye.
Supervisor Corzo?
Yes.
Thank you, Supervisor Mueller.
Yes.
Supervisor Gaucher?
Yes.
And President Canepa.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is item 6 from Health, which is a resolution to authorize the Chief of San Mateo County Health to execute agreements with vendors to provide contingency staffing services for the term of June 28, 2025 through July 1st, 2028 in an amount not to exceed $12 million. Mr. McGrew.
Good afternoon, President Canepa, honorable members of the board, County Executive Callaghy, County Attorney Niblin, and Assistant County Executive Rodriguez. I'm Dave McGrew. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for San Mateo Medical Center and the Interim Chief Information Officer for San Mateo County Health. And I actually have 2 items before you today. So the first one is this contingent staffing resolution. So I am here requesting your approval to allow the Chief of San Mateo County Health to execute contingent staffing contracts on an as-needed basis, which provide temporary IT staffing support for various IT projects, including our Wave 2 implementation of EPIC. This is similar to the contingent staffing models used by the Medical Center and Correctional Health for per diem and registry staffing for personnel such as nurses and other types of clinical and administrative support. We've been using this type of temporary staffing model since about 2018, and we recently completed an RFP process for new contracts. And through this RFP process, HIT's identified 40-plus vendors to participate in a pool of IT staffing agencies for which Health IT will draw upon as needed for short-term project support. These project staffing resources augment our existing staff in the event of urgent or emergent short-term needs or project needs for subject matter expertise beyond the expertise possessed by our county staff. These project staffing resources do not replace any county positions or staff and will be off-boarded at the end of the project. Just as a final note, the 40-plus vendors participating in this pool have agreed in advance to standard county contract terms and conditions, and they provide candidates based on our county-established competitive rates. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Great. Do we have any questions from board members?
Just briefly, thank you for the presentation. Can you just remind us, when you think about health information technology, what is covered under that umbrella?
Yeah, so we generally think of that as all of the application-related services for the health divisions. When we think about hardware and that infrastructure, that's covered by Information Services Department of the county, but Health IT covers the software piece of it.
Is that EPIC as well? Is EPIC?
Today it's primarily EPIC,
Okay.
but there are still a number of third-party applications we have.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Great. Are there any additional comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, can we take public comment?
Thank you, Mr. President. No speakers from chambers. So, Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Public on Zoom, please click raise hand to comment for item 6 for the health agreements. No hands raised, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. With all that said, does the supervisor want to make a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, great. Roll call, please.
Sure. Supervisor Spear? Thank you. Supervisor Corzo?
Yes.
Supervisor Mueller?
Yes.
Supervisor Gaucher?
Yes.
And President Canepa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The
Motion
next
item on the agenda is item 7 from Health, which is a resolution to authorize a contract with Elite Group for services in connection with electronic health record implementation through September 30th, 2025, to increase the maximum fiscal obligation by $1,283,635 to an amount not to exceed $16,500,000. And again, thank you, Mr. McGrew.
Okay, thank you. So requesting your approval for the extension of this contract with Elite Groups. Overall, they provide and have provided consulting and staffing support for our Wave 1 of the EPIC implementation, also known as Integrate Health. And the most recent amendment approved by this board back in late 2024 with Elite added some staffing services for a temporary IT help service desk to help support the EPIC applications. And there was an expectation at that time that we would come back with a permanent solution. This help desk provides what we call Tier 1 and Tier 2 support for EPIC applications, things such as password resets, security access, things of that nature. And this service desk also, if there are more technical matters, the service desk staff escalate those items to county on-call staff as needed. And this is a separate function from ISD's service desk that supports countywide applications and countywide technology. And the amendment before you extends the Elite Group's help desk support through September 30th while we complete the vendor selection and contracting process. We've issued an RFP, and we've elevated 5 vendors to the presentation demo phase, and we expect to bring a new contract to the board in August.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. McGrew. Do we have any comments on this item? Seeing none, do we have public comment?
Thank you, Mr. President. No speakers from chambers for item number 7. Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Public comment on Zoom, raise hand for item 7 for agreement with Elite Groups. No hands raised, Mr. President.
We're back to the board. Is there any discussion? Supervisor Corso.
I'd like to say that as the chair of the board of the San Mateo Medical Center, I'm proud to be a part of the EPIC system implementation. We had a board meeting yesterday where we heard at length from different departments in the medical center how much of a tremendous impact this movement from paper to digital records system-wide is improving their ability to serve patients all throughout the system. It's also improving the ability for patients themselves to have access to their medical records and to information they need to make decisions about their health. And so while this is, comes at a high financial cost, it is very much needed, and it's getting us to a place where the private systems have been for many, many years. And so I am happy to support this contract for Elite Groups to provide customer service until an RFP process can be completed for a longer-term service contract.
That's
And
a motion, I would
I
assume.
move to approve this item.
All right. May I have a second? Second. Great. Roll call, please.
Sure, Supervisor Spear? Aye. Thank you, Supervisor Corzo?
Yes.
Supervisor Mueller? Supervisor Gaucher?
Yes.
And President Canepa?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
We'll now move to our next regular agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to our next regular agenda item for this meeting, which is item 8, a resolution to authorize an agreement with Health Right 360 for substance use disorder and other services for the term of June 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2027, for an amount not to exceed $10,898,523. This item is brought before us by Dr. J.
Well, good afternoon, actually. So again, the item for your consideration is to approve a 2-year agreement with Health Right 360 to provide a range of substance use disorder services, including intensive outpatient, residential treatment, medication-assisted treatment, or MAT, including also housing for folks in recovery with sober living environments. And again, these services are mandated by the state. I'll just give some data here because you've heard already some of the things I said with OCG. So client admissions, as many of these organizations have fluctuated over the years, but I feel like they're actually up on the upswing. In 23-24, Health Right 360 in their Women's residential that had 15 beds had 71 client admissions, so that's 76% utilization. For their men's residential, Laurel House, that's 12 beds, they're about 67% utilization. And then for their intensive outpatient and outpatient in San Mateo in the north part of the county, the Pioneer Court and Odasa, about 75% client admissions. Overall, Health Right 360's readmission rate is about 17%. So it's pretty low. And also, Health Right 360 has a designation of a federally qualified health center. This actually allows Health Right 360 to provide MAT services, which is the use of medications in combination with counseling and behavioral health therapies to actually provide a whole person approach to the treatment of their substance use disorders. And currently they have 60 clients, and that's about 80% filled in terms of their referral. So again, a slow increase there. And they, individuals there work with our IMAT case manager and also gets their medications with the medical center. Health Right 360 MAT program is provided by a partnership with Health Plan of San Mateo. And we are able to provide services for beyond just BHRS clients, but mild to moderate clients, but also folks from Kaiser and folks that are uninsured. And because of that designation, we actually are able to sort of work and partner with the medical center in terms of billing. So really great opportunity to be able to provide MAT services.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Dr. J? Seeing none, do we have any public comment?
Thank you, Mr. President. No speakers for item number 8. Madam Clerk, please proceed.
I move adoption.
Public on Zoom, please. Public on Zoom, please click raise hand for item 8 for Health Right 360. We have one hand raised for X. Please unmute and begin.
Yes, thank you. There are serious concerns about the efficiency and integrity of Health Right 360. Its CEO has publicly stated that abstinence-based treatment doesn't work. How can somebody who rejects sobriety as a goal credibly oversee sober living facilities? Additionally, her compensation exceeds $300,000 a year, and at least 8 other executives make salaries in the mid to $200,000. This raises serious red flags. In a December 2022 expose titled The Grip That Keeps on Giving, journalist Susan Reynolds revealed that data was fabricated to make the program look successful based on emails obtained through a public records request. They even spent $500,000 on a self-serving study to falsely claim that drug use and paraphernalia litter had decreased near their linkage center. That same year, their medical director was paid $250,000 despite being on probation for altering or falsifying medical records and prescribing drugs without proper exams. Despite the repeated failures, San Francisco has given them a contract. Their harm reduction model pushes, enables people to use drugs, not help them. Please do not follow in the footsteps of San Francisco with this bad and dangerous company. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. No further hands, Mr. President.
There aren't. I think there was a motion. Is that correct, Supervisor Spear? Yes. All right. There was a motion by Supervisor Spear to adopt this item. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a roll call, please.
Sure. Supervisor Spear? Thank you. Supervisor Corzo?
Yes.
Supervisor Miller?
Yes.
Supervisor Gaucher?
Yes.
And President Canepa?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
All right. With that, we'll move to item 9 on the next regular agenda item for this meeting, which is item 9, a resolution allocating $2 million in Measure K reserves to relaunch the county's farm labor housing loan program, to authorize and direct the Director of the Department of Housing to negotiate and execute associated agreements, and to approve an appropriation transfer request, also known as an ATR, to fund the program. This item comes from Housing and is sponsored by Health, and I believe Mr. Hodges will present on it.
Yes, thank you, President Canepa, and good afternoon, honorable board members, Mr. Callaghy, Mr. Niblin, Ms. Rodriguez. I'm Ray Hodges, Director at the Department of Housing, and I'm joined today by Alejandro Segura, one of our housing specialists who's working on this program. We're here to discuss the county's farm labor housing loan program and 3 options for relaunching the program with $2 million in Measure K funding. Between 2016 and 2023, DOH administered 2 iterations of the farm labor housing program in partnership with District 3, Agricultural Weights and Measures, Planning and Building, and Environmental Health. And to date, DOH has made nearly $3 million in loans to 8 farm operators to renovate 4 units and install 12 new units for very low-income farm workers. That funding was fully allocated, and DOH has not taken new applications since prior to 2023 for the program. The program was created to address a lack of quality housing for low-income farm workers, and this was documented in our 2016 Agricultural Workforce Needs Assessment. The program enabled farm owners and operators to improve substandard housing and create housing opportunities on their land in a part of the county where it's very difficult to get new housing produced, and for a population that we know the market won't address on its own. Since that time, and following the tragic shooting at 2 farms out in Half Moon Bay in early 2023, the county launched the Farm Worker Housing Compliance Task Force to inspect units for compliance with essential health, life, and safety standards. 2/3 of the 145 units inspected met basic life and safety requirements, but 49 needed some form of corrective action, and that spanned a pretty wide array, things as minor as installing smoke and carbon monoxide alarms, to more extensive repairs involving secondary egress, electrical updates, water quality, foundation repairs, and new heating systems. So in response to the task force recommendations, DOH prepared to relaunch the program with an additional $2 million in Measure K funding, using a 2-phased approach that's shown on this slide here. The first 12-month phase would focus on bringing dilapidated units into compliance with current codes. The maximum loan for this work would be $100,000 per unit versus $150,000 in our original program for renovated units. If any money remains after this first phase, we would allow applications for construction of new housing units at loan amounts of up to $250,000 for the first 2 units, and then up to $200,000 for any unit beyond those first 2. This slide shows basic program requirements. The units, of course, must be located on agricultural property in San Mateo County, and they have to be rented to very low-income farm worker households. So that's farm workers earning up to 50% of the area median income. And to be eligible, a worker must do at least 20 hours per week of agricultural work and earn at least 50% of their income doing that agricultural work. Farm worker income is limited to 50% of the area median income, like I mentioned, but the rents charged are limited to the lesser of 30% of the household's income, or the extremely low income rent limit, which is 30% of the area median income. The units can be stick-built, mobile homes, tiny homes, or modular housing, and they must comply, of course, with applicable codes. The loans would have a 30-year term with no interest charged and would be secured by a deed of trust. We do require financial participation from the farm owner or operator who must contribute at least 10% of the total development costs. I'll say, though, that the much more significant contribution that the farm operators make in this program really is project managing housing development on the unincorporated coast, where we lack sewer, water, electrical resources for doing this in many cases. The unit must be rented to farm workers, or the loan can be made immediately due and payable. And these program parameters were developed through a process that involved a number of community meetings with farm operators, another with farm workers, a farm worker survey, which received 150 responses, and feedback we received over time on the previous program. We currently monitor past loan recipients and would do so here as well annually. This involves desk monitoring, looking at income, employment, and rental data, as well as physical inspections of the units. In the past, this program provided for forgiveness of the loans over the final 5 years of the loan term, and in the previous iterations, that loan term was 15 or 20 years. We proposed changing it to a 30-year term here in the updated program. However, we know that our economic situation today is different than it was a few years ago, and local, state, and federal budgets are in flux. So we did want to put forward options that also involved loan repayment. So looking at three options here. Option A for your consideration today involves amortized payments by the farm operator that would completely pay down the loan over the 30-year term. Option B would not require regular payments, but would then involve a balloon payment at the end of the 30-year term. And the operator would have ability to make interim payments if they wanted to do so. Option C, the final one, parallels our prior program with the loan forgiven over the last 5 years of the 30-year loan term. For options A and B, we're also proposing what we're calling a rental subsidy component, and I'll talk about that on the next slide. So again, Model A involves equal payments over the 30-year loan term. It could happen on a monthly or annual basis. But we discovered through our earlier program and our outreach work that some of the farm owner operators are actually charging rents that are lower than the maximum rent that our program would allow them to charge. So, and again, the max rent that can be charged is the lesser of 30% of the tenant's income or the extremely low income 30% AMI rent for the unit. So some of our loan recipients are charging less than the lower of these two numbers. So we're concerned that under option A and option B with the balloon payment that we'd be incentivizing operators to increase rents beyond what they would otherwise charge to their farm worker tenants, and this is an outcome that we wanted to avoid. So under both of these models that involve repayment, we're proposing that loan recipients also receive a monthly reduction in their loan balance that's equal to the difference between what the program allows them to charge in rent and what they actually charge to the tenants in rents. So for instance, for a 2-bedroom unit housing a family of 4, where the maximum allowable rent was the extremely low income rent of $1,322 monthly. If the farm owner charged the family only $1,000, the owner would receive a credit against the loan balance of $322 each month. And that would reduce the balance in addition to the required monthly payments. And so they'd pay it off more quickly, less than 30 years. Here's option B again, where the loan's not forgivable, but no required monthly payments, setting up a balloon payment scenario at 30 years. So here again, we would propose the rental subsidy loan credit to provide value to farm operators who charge less than the maximum permissible rent. To give you another example of how, how this could play out, if an operator installed 2 new 2-bedroom units and borrowed the maximum $500,000, in doing so, and if they charged the max rent that the program allowed and made no payments over the 30 years, then the balloon payment would be the full $500,000 at the end of the 30-year term. But at the opposite end of the spectrum, if they charged no rent to the farm worker household over the 30 years, and the max allowable rent was the ELI rent for a 2-bedroom apartment of $1,322, that would equate to a full subsidy against the credit against the loan balance of $1,322 monthly. So in that scenario, after 30 years, actually only $24,000 would remain to be paid, even though no hard payments were made. You can imagine with smaller rent subsidies, a smaller difference between what's allowable to charge and what's actually charged to the resulting balloon payment would be greater, but still less than that $500,000 initial principal. And then finally, Model C, which involves forgiving the loan in equal increments of 20% over the final 5 years of the 30-year loan term. This, of course, assumes satisfactory performance renting to very low-income farm workers over the term of the loan. This is the option that's most similar to our past program, which also involved forgiveness, but with a 15 or 20-year term instead of 30. Staff do recommend this option as we think it's the most likely to result in interest from the farm owner-operator community and result most quickly in repaired and newly constructed units for farm workers. In this scenario, we kind of, we equate the debt service to the county to be the 30-plus year provision of affordable housing for a vulnerable population. And we get it on private land and at a location where we're unlikely to otherwise produce any housing. That said, we know budgets and the economy are certainly in flux right now, so we are seeking your direction for moving forward on this. And I'll stop here for discussion or questions.
Thank you. President Canepa has stepped away, so I will be chairing this item until his return. And I'm opening the floor to any questions by the board. Supervisor Mueller.
So first, Ray, I want to thank you for working on this. As you know, we worked closely trying to get this figured out. The only thing that I wanted to check with you on is, because I have received in the last week a lot of feedback, and people are very concerned. So when we went out and we did the Farm Worker Housing Task Force, there were a number of units that were identified that needed improvement, but didn't need a full rebuild. And people are concerned that there will be, with only $2 million, there'll be a few projects that just eat up all of the amount of money. Because as we saw last time, didn't spread very far. And so the question I have is, for the first phase, because we tried to address that when this was put together, with a first phase and a second phase. For the first phase, do you think it's problematic for it to be a loan, maximum loan amount of $100,000 for each property, as opposed to unit?
As opposed to each unit.
So that way we can make sure we clean up as much of in existing housing as possible in that first stage. There's a lot of landlords out there who don't have to do a full rebuild, but and as identified in that farm worker housing report, there's work that needs to be done. And so I hate that we would use this $2 million and not get those people out of those circumstances.
Up to, if each was $100,000, 20 units. So I think that would be I think that's a perfectly reasonable change.
I appreciate that. So to my colleagues, I would say I'd ask you to consider that for the first phase. And then for the second of the three, I'll be candid, I actually prefer Model C2, but I could understand where my colleagues might want to go with Model A or Model B, and I'm open to that. I just want to go ahead and I want to make sure that, so the big issue here that I think that was a failure in the last time, not failure, but a problem to be overcome last time, was that landowners who were leasing the property really didn't have incentive to let their leasehold farmers or ranchers participate in the program. I think that's changed now that the Farm Worker Housing Task Force went out and landowners got letters, and they're on record now. So I think we're going to see much more interest in utilization of this program. That being said, I turn over my colleagues for questions. But I like, within all three of these options, that the loan is really being paid down by lowering that affordability threshold. So, thank you.
Thank you. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what you might expect to happen in terms of utilization if we pick an option other than Model C.
Yeah, I think it's clear option C is, it's likely to generate the most interest. Can't say there would be no interest in options A or B. Just looking at numbers, there are scenarios where the sum of the mortgage payment plus the operating costs actually come out to more than a farmer could charge in rent for the unit, so the math doesn't work. That wouldn't be the case across the board. So there could potentially be some interest, but I think it's clear option C is likely to generate the most.
Thank you. And can you talk a little bit about, I think Supervisor Mueller mentioned this, but can you talk a little bit more about some of the findings from the report around water quality?
Yeah, I believe it was, so there were 145 units inspected. I believe 37 were found to have water quality deficiencies. I think mostly around two forms of bacteria. That had to be corrected immediately for those units to be, remain habitable. So that happened. But I think, my understanding is there's interest in being able to do longer term solutions, and was done at some of these locations around water.
Understood. And then in terms of option 2, could you speak to what the system was for the last round of this program, and why you're recommending something different now?
So option 2, the balloon payment option, you mean, or? Option C is the one that's most similar to what we had done in the past, and that is the one that we're
Oh, okay, understood.
that we're
I think
recommending.
I
Yeah, we're
got
just
that wrong.
pushing out the term from 20 years to 30, and changing the income and rent requirements slightly, but that's the most similar.
Thank you. My mistake. And you mentioned that the housing would be required to be for farm workers, and if not, then the full amount becomes due. How are we going to ensure that?
That's so, yeah. So we at the Department of Housing, we do annual inspections of those units, but they do also receive their standard inspections by the county's building department and environmental health as well, who can check for that too. But we would be looking for that.
Thank you. And what about a situation where a property sells or is no longer a farm but is still rented to very low income residents? Let's say someone wants to build a restaurant and they have very low wage workers that aren't, because the data doesn't lie. The number of farm workers and farms in our county has been decreasing. So, and there are still low income residents that maybe have moved away from farm work.
The difficulty is that the Coastal Commission so while the farm may close, the land is still designated agricultural, and they would have to go through a Coastal Commission process. And because there are farm worker units on that, it would be you can correct me if I'm wrong, right? But it would be very difficult to convert those units.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Supervisor Gaucher, and then we'll go Supervisor Spear.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. This is really exciting to know that we're going to be able to help individuals with housing. Question on the water, will the residents also receive a filter? If you're having an area where there's higher bacteria in water, how do we just make sure that we're still providing additional support?
In the meantime, you mean before? Before? Yeah, good question. I don't know to what degree that was a requirement of the task force, or what the task force required of those units. But they did test the water quality in each of them before and after making the change, whether that involved a filter or other means to make sure that it was done that way.
Supervisor, expert on it. Supervisor Gaucher, if I may, Justin Mates, Deputy County Executive. I helped coordinate the work of the task force. So all of the farms that were identified to have that water quality issue were required to do all manner of whatever it took to get the water within safe standards. Sometimes it was just a matter of cleaning out the filter. Sometimes it was a matter of potentially creating a new system. And so in order to continue the monitoring, that would include a test that came back within safe levels before the compliance work was considered done for that unit. What is also being worked on and is planned to be brought to this board in the future is a revision to some of our local ordinances that would basically capture the small water providers that up to this point would not have had to be subject to regular monitoring of water quality with the overlay of state and local water laws. We're going to close that gap and make sure that every provider of water to farm worker units is going to be subject to regular monitoring. That is something that our environmental health staff is currently developing. They'll be doing public outreach and input and then bringing it back to the board later this year.
Thank you. Next, if you're looking at the three models, Model B, the idea of a 30-year balloon payment is just frightening to me, to add a balloon payment for individuals who need housing. So I would not be in supportive of the balloon payment option. But going back into the housing as well, in many communities we have BMR units. Will this be like a BMR unit where individuals, when it's time to sell, there's some restrictions on who you can sell it to and how much it can be sold for, so that it continues to be affordable housing?
Well, these would be rental units, but so yes, if a farm worker vacated a unit, the same requirements apply to the next rental that the farm owner or operator would be doing there. Yes.
Thank you.
Supervisor Spear.
So, Ray, if I remember correctly, what you said, there were 16 units that were built in the last go around of $3 million. So that was about $187,000 per unit, with my poor math, for 16 families in effect. I must say that I am very supportive of this concept. I would like for us to continue to offer no interest loans. Wouldn't everyone like to have a no interest home loan? No interest loan to farm operators to then build these facilities and then get the rent from these facilities, correct? So I support A. I do not support B because I think it's unrealistic. And I think that, I just spent a night at the homeless shelter in Safe Harbor. And a lot of those people are working. And, I want to make sure that we can find housing for them too. So I think A is a very responsible, and I think it's a generous opportunity for farm operators to build the housing, and if not build the housing, certainly repair the housing that's there. And I think the money is going to be used substantially for that purpose, and I think that's really important too. Mold, poor housing conditions, that kind of thing. So my support would be for A.
Okay, Supervisor Mueller.
So that's fine, and I'll support that. So what I'd like to do then is support, if my colleagues are agreeable, A, but we're going to change phase 1 to 100,000 per property, and then phase 2 can be what phase 2 is. And I appreciate Supervisor Corzo pointing out that this is, and you pointing out in your presentation, this is really reserved for farm worker housing, because that's what the land is out there under the Coastal Commission guidelines to build it. And I really appreciate, because I know the community will appreciate that it's going to be audited for that.
Yep.
So if that's, I can go ahead and make the motion now, and then we take public comments. People know that will be my motion. My motion will be for Model A, with phase 1 being 100,000 per property, and then 250,000 per unit in phase 2. And that'll be, I think that covers all of it.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask for one thing before a second is taken. I think this is a really important topic, and I would appreciate having the opportunity for the full board to hear an annual report about how this program is being utilized, maybe on an annual basis.
Absolutely. So I'll incorporate that into the motion.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
Second.
Second by Spear. Should we take public comment?
Is it also to approve A, 1, 2, and B?
Supervisor Mueller, did you hear what the clerk said?
So it's Model A. The amendment, it's phase 1 will be 100,000 for each property, maximum loan of 100,000 for each property, and then phase 2 will be what's contained in the staff report.
So it's the matter is presented in the packet with the adjustments that the supervisor just articulated. $100,000 per property for phase 1 was Model A in terms of the repayment modality that the board agreed to. With respect to phase 2, $250,000 per unit with a proviso or with direction to staff to bring an annual report to the board with respect to the program.
That's
Okay.
right.
Okay, thank you. We'll take public comment. I do have one speaker from Chambers, Peter Smith.
Mr. Smith.
Well, good afternoon. It's a long morning. You guys work hard. I'm Pete Smith. I'm a ranch owner in the city of Half Moon Bay. And I have a little different situation than what you've just talking about repairing farm units and so on. I have a proposal now that's really been allowed as a result of the new land use plan that I and many others worked pretty hard on for the city of Half Moon Bay. And I have a 17-acre ranch. It's now an equestrian ranch, which does horse training and breeding. It has been for the last 25 years. And for all that time, until 2022, when the new LUP was enacted, we couldn't have more than one home on that land. Oh, I didn't know I had
No,
1
no,
minute.
keep going.
Yeah. And as a result of now being able to have agricultural workers on our agricultural land, I've put proposals in front of the city, which they're now in agreement with and planning, have not yet acted on, to put 3 farm labor units on the property. That's morphed from more than that to fewer, and with some plan changes to try to reduce costs. And my current proposal is to just get help from the county for the infrastructure costs, to put city water, city sewer from Miramontes Point Road, which is already right there, and PG&E Power in for 3 units that I would buy. So we prepare some roads, some pads, some infrastructure.
If you can wrap up.
And all I would use the funding for is for the costs of permitting and drawings and construction, basically. And so it doesn't quite fit the model that Ray and Alejandro have presented to you today.
Thank you so
because
much.
They're really 2 different things. But I think
Thank you.
the board should consider
Mr. Wilson?
things like this for
Mr. Wilson?
private landowners.
Mr. Wilson?
Ms. Spear is correct in saying,
Mr. Wilson?
you know, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Smith? Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir.
You've gone way over your time. I'm sorry, but thank you, okay?
Okay,
Thank
very
you.
good.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
And I encourage you to talk with Ray afterwards. I think
I'll take that. The cost to the county, by my estimate, would be $74,000
Mr.
per
Smith?
unit.
Mr. Smith, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I'm sorry, I just need to clarify one thing. I'd summarize the motion in the second, and I
Mr.
just
Smith, I'm sorry, you couldn't hear us, could you?
No, I could hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
Thank you.
In summarizing the supervisors, Supervisor Mueller's motion in the second, I neglected to mention the ATR was a part of that motion as well. I think it was assumed, but I want to make sure that was clear.
it was assumed.
Okay.
And we'll take public comment on Zoom now. Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Thank you. At this time, we have 4 hands raised. We'll start with Veronica Mazarigos Anastasio from Brisa Ranch, followed by Tony Serrano. Veronica, please unmute and begin.
Hello, good afternoon, supervisors. I am a farm business owner and operator in Pescadero, and I'm in support of the Farm Labor Housing Loan Program, and really encourage the board to continue looking at ways in which the housing situation can be addressed on the coast. I am not a landowner. I hope to be one day, and I hope to also see agriculture continue to grow in the area. But that comes with support from the county to address issues like housing. And so I do think that this is a step in that direction. But yes, encouraging you to continue to work with us in seeing what the changing needs of agriculture are on the coast. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll now go to Tony Serrano, followed by Joanne Sandoval Puente. Tony, please unmute and begin.
Good afternoon, supervisors. My name is Tony Serrano, and I am here to express my strongest support for the relaunch of the Farm Labor Housing Loan Program and the $2 million allocation from Measure K. I work closely with farm workers' families in San Mateo County, particularly in Half Moon Bay and Pescadero. I've walked into homes where families live in crowded, unsafe, and sometimes illegal conditions. I'm talking about units with mold, plumbing, or no heat. These are the same individuals who work our fields, harvest our crops, and sustain our local food supply. Yet, they're forced to live in housing that no one shall have to endure. This program is more than financial assistance. It's about restoring a sense of safety, dignity, and peace in the lives of those who feed our communities. When a family knows their home is secure, legal, and livable, It eases their heavy stress they carry every day. For farm workers, the anxiety doesn't end when the workday does. It comes home with them. Stable housing supports not only physical safety, but also emotional and mental well-being. It allows parents to rest, children to focus on school, and entire families to breathe a little easier. I want to thank Supervisor Mueller and the Department of Housing for listening to the voices of the community and creating a program that reflects both urgency and compassion. I urge you to adopt this recommendation because no one who feeds this county should be left behind when it comes to housing or health. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Joanne Sandoval from Puente, followed by Wendy Cho. Joanne, please unmute and begin. Joanne?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good afternoon, supervisors. My name is Joanne Sandoval. I'm the community organizer for Puente de la Costa Sur. I want to share on behalf of Puente that we are incredibly grateful that the county has allocated funding to relaunch the Farm Labor Housing Loan Program. Targeted programs like this one enable farm operators to rehabilitate housing as well as provide additional housing for our county's dedicated farm workers. We have seen the Farm Labor Housing Loan Program successfully implemented on farms in the South Coast in the past, and we look forward to similar projects being supported through this funding. Thank you for taking action on the desperate need for housing and for supporting our farm workers.
Thank you, Joanne. At this time, I'll go ahead and make a final call to raise your hand in Zoom. So members of the public, please raise your hand to speak for item 9 at this time. Final call has been made, and we have our final 4 speakers, Wendy Chu, John Vars, Eliza, and Beck, BEC. Wendy, please unmute and begin.
Hello, President Canepa and the Honorable Board of Supervisors. Thank you so much for taking my comment. My name is Wendy Cho, and I am the Coalition and Project Senior Manager at Actera, Action for a Healthy Planet. I'd like to voice my full support today for the motion before us regarding option A to help bolster the supply of safe, dignified farm worker housing. We take great pride in our region's agricultural resources, but we too often overlook the needs of people who grow and harvest our food. They deserve clean water, access to electricity, and stable shelter that is up to code rather than subpar. So let's support the people contributing to our healthy food system by supporting livable and decent housing. And thank you so much for the request to monitor this on an annual basis. I think it's important not to take our eye off of farm operators and make sure they're fully complying with the request to upgrade existing housing. Thank you so much for your progress today.
Thank you, Wendy. John Vars, please unmute and begin.
Hi, I'm actually John Vars' business partner, but Zoom didn't give me a choice of changing my name on the computer. This is Teresa Kurtek. I'm one of the owners of Fifth Crow Farm in Pescadero, California. And we are, I believe, one of the last recipients of the last round of farm labor housing loans. And I just am calling because this is so important, allocating funds to this program. This program has been took years and years to get into place. And then we had a wave of grants and a lot of problems with those grants that made it such that farmers weren't applying for them because the loan, sort of the way the loan was written was not very favorable to the point that it just didn't make any sense. So then I think over a year and a half, maybe multiple years went into redrafting it. And I think the outcome was a great improvement. And then the money went away and was all used. And I just think that this is so, so critical. We have a major affordable housing crisis here. And we as farmers are, I think, one of willing partners in this, in addressing the farm labor housing crisis. Many of us, those of us that are interested in housing our workers, would love to do so and can provide locations and can provide a very large portion of the cost, but we can't do it by ourselves. We really need your support to make this happen and to both build new housing and upgrade old housing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Teresa. Eliza, please unmute and begin.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eliza Milio. I'm the Agricultural Program Manager for the Resource Conservation District, or RCD. And I also have the pleasure of serving as the Agricultural Ombudsman for the County of San Mateo. I'm here today to represent a number of farm owners, farmers, and farm workers who were unable to attend this meeting but wanted to voice their strong support for refunding the Farm Labor Housing Loan Program. This program has shown that it can be a vital tool to the agricultural community. It's one of the many tangible ways the county can directly strengthen the safety and availability of affordable homes for farm workers. Housing on the coast is not only expensive, it's severely limited, and the shortage has made it super difficult for farms to retain the labor they rely on. And without secure and affordable housing, long-term viability of farming in our region is at risk. Farm workers deserve to live in safe, dignified conditions, and farms cannot operate without them. Continued investment is not just support for agriculture, it is a commitment to the future of our food system. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Eliza. And our last speaker, Beck, BEC, please unmute and begin.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Bauer, and my family and I have been involved with organic farming on the coast for many years at a Coastways Ranch. Farming, as you all know and have mentioned, plays a critical role in our community, and having the efficient and affordable housing available for those who work so hard to provide the local and fresh, wonderful food to our community is essential. So I just wanted to voice my support for the county's Farm Labor Housing Loan Program, and to thank all of those who have worked behind the scenes on this. All of you who have been so involved with it. We're incredibly grateful. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. That concludes public comment, Mr. President.
Great, thank you very much.
Actually, we do have written comments. I'll turn it back to Mr.
Mr. President, we received several written comments yesterday and today, which were emailed to the board. But after that, I did receive 6 other comments. I'll be very brief. One is from Alice Linsmeyer. She is in support of labor housing. Next is Vaughn Harrison, also in support of to pass this resolution. Eric DeBode from Abundant Grace, co-side worker, also in support of approving this item. Karen Larson, also in support of item number 9. Ray Abila, also in support for item number 9. And then lastly, Christy Samuels, also in support of this item. We did receive one additional speaker from Chambers, Mr. President, and that's Ione Yoon, if we could take her. Yes.
Good afternoon, honorable board members. My name's Ione Ewan, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Agriculture Weights and Measures, and I'm not speaking in that capacity because I'm just, in our line of work, I got to sit in on the Farm Labor Housing Task Force as well, and I think part of this is supporting the farmers. I mean, the farmers are the ones who are responsible for providing this farm worker housing that, you know, if they're going to get a loan to do that. And farmers work very hard in our county, and it's a tough business. You know, they have one shot to have, you know, your one season, and that's if you make your money or not. And Mother Nature doesn't always cooperate. So I would just really love for you to, as I'm sitting here listening, I really appreciate the opportunity for the for this program to be renewed, but I would also, as I'm listening to, that you would consider the way it was structured previously, where there is a part of it that would be forgivable over the time. So instead of just another loan for them. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ewan. Back to you, Supervisor Mueller.
I just want to make clear that even in option A, the loan's forgivable over time by reducing by making the unit affordable. And so if you keep those units affordable, you're paying back the loan over the course of the 30 years. The last thing I want to do is I just want to thank all the stakeholders who called in, of course, but also the Department of Housing, Ray Hodges, staff Rose Cade and Karen Kopic, Ileana Rodriguez for your work on it, Justin Mates, and for working on this. As you have heard from all the stakeholders, this is a big deal. And I also want to say to Don Horsley's family, remember him this day.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. We have a roll call, please.
Sure. Supervisor Spear? Thank you. Supervisor Corzo?
Yes.
Supervisor Mueller?
Yes.
Supervisor Gaucher?
Yes.
And President Canepa?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
We'll now move to our last regular agenda item for this meeting, which is item 10, a public hearing under the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, also known as TEFRA, regarding the issuance of tax-exempt bonds by the California Municipal Finance Authority, and a resolution to approve a plan of finance for the issuance of tax-exempt revenue bonds for the benefit of the North Fair Oaks Apartments LP, Limited Partnership for an Affordable Rental Housing Facility in North Fair Oaks. This item comes from County Attorney Mr. Niblin. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I do have some legal boilerplate before you all get to the public hearing under TEFRA. So I'll go ahead and want to share this afternoon that, again, you all will be asked to conduct a public hearing pursuant to TEFRA. TEFRA requires that a public hearing be held in the jurisdiction in which a project to be financed with tax-exempt financing is located, and that the governing body approve the proposed financing. Affirmed Housing Group, Inc. is a Delaware nonprofit, and there are affiliates as well that would of a firm that would constitute the borrower in this case. And they've asked the California Municipal Finance Authority to be the issuer of tax-exempt financing in an amount not to exceed $50 million. These bonds would be used to finance and or refinance the acquisition, construction, improvement, and equipping of an 86-unit affordable rental housing facility for low-income households to be located in the unincorporated community of North Fair Oaks, located at 430 to 434 Douglas Avenue and 429 to 431 MacArthur Avenue, again in unincorporated Redwood City, California. The CMFA, which is, again, the California Municipal Finance Authority, is a joint powers authority formed to assist local governments, nonprofit organizations, and businesses with the issuance of both taxable and tax-exempt debt. To be clear, the debt to be issued by CMFA here will be the sole responsibility of the borrower, and the county will have no financial or legal obligation or responsibility with regard to the repayment of that debt. All financing documents will carry clear disclaimers that the loan is not an obligation of the county. The county will also bear no cost in the issuance of the proposed debt. This is a private loan between the borrower and the lender. After this hearing, it's recommended by staff, that the Board of Supervisors adopt a resolution approving the issuance of bonds by the CMFA for the benefit of the borrower. The adoption is solely for the purposes of satisfying the requirements of TEFRA, the Internal Revenue Code, and the California Government Code at Section 6500. We've got representatives here today from the borrower and from CMFA for any questions that you all may have.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Niblin. Are there any comments or questions from my colleagues?
I have one question.
Supervisor Spear.
Thank you, Mr. President. I see that the for-profit entity is a Delaware company, and the nonprofit entity is a California company. I'm just wondering why we would benefit a Delaware corporation instead of a California corporation.
Well, yeah, these deal structures, I might again have to defer to somebody from either the lender or the CMFA to speak to all of that. Again, I think that we look at the actual purpose of the financing, which is to finance nonprofit low income housing. But I don't know if there's anything else anybody wants to say in addressing that.
Yeah, they want to. Just thinking, why don't we have?
Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Jacob Billitary with Affirmed Housing. Affirmed Housing is a parent company. It's registered in Delaware for tax reasons. And the entity that we've formed that is a general partner in this transaction, administrative general partner, is a California LLC.
You're referring to?
The nonprofit is also, I believe, registered in California. The nonprofit is a different entity from Affirmed Housing that we're partnering with.
So Affirmed Housing actually has a California corporation that they're working with on this? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that is correct.
All right.
Actually, it looks like, is it Compass for Affordable Housing, which is the California nonprofit corporation? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's Compass for Affordable Housing.
All right. I just wanted to make the point, I guess.
Point well taken. With that, are there any other additional comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll now move to the public hearing. With unanimous consent, we'll open the public hearing. Do I have unanimous consent? Yes. Thank you very much. I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and bring us comments from anyone who wants to be heard in this public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have any speaker slips from chambers for this item, so Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Members on Zoom, please click raise hand to comment on item 10 for the TEFRA public hearing. Last call, public hearing item, TEFRA. No hands raised, Mr. President.
Okay. With unanimous consent, will we close the public hearing? Seeing I have unanimous consent, we're back to the board for any discussion. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none,
Just through,
yes.
through the chair, I stepped out. I just want to acknowledge that this property would be in North Fair Oaks. Affordable housing is very important. Thank you, and I know we'll be meeting later on.
Supervisor Gaucher, would you like to move the motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Sure. Supervisor Spear?
Aye.
Thank you. Supervisor Corzo?
Yes.
Supervisor Mueller?
Yes.
Supervisor Gaucher?
Yes.
And President Canepa?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
Colleagues, with that, this meeting has concluded or may not have concluded. Mr. Niblin, will we be coming back out of closed session?
I don't anticipate we'll have anything to report out of closed session, so no.
All right. With that, we'll adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you all. The time is now 1:02 p.m. Meeting is adjourned.